What could go wrong?
Well, I think what can go wrong is that they shouldn't have ever done the movie. Like they.
Welcome to SinCast, presented by Cinemasins.
All right, everybody, welcome to the SinCast. This is Chris Atkinson from Cinemasins, joined as always by the voice of Cinemasins, Jeremy Scott.
Hello.
And from Music Video Sins, Barrett Share.
Hi, everybody.
And today we're going to continue the series of Best of the Years We've Been Alive, and we're all the way to 2011.
Come on, Tom. Let's finish this the way we started it. Together.
It's a mutation. It's a very groovy mutation.
I'm the backup parent, the understudy.
The skies are blue when it's me and you and you and you.
I have arrived at the party.
And I love my new asshole!
I need a horse.
We don't have horses, just dogs, cats, birds.
And give me one of those large enough to ride.
Our goal is to create the best army in history. But every army starts with one man.
Would you rather get a bullet to the head or 5 to the chest and bleed to death?
Are those my only two options?
And also, this is episode 50.
50?
50?
We've done 50 main episodes.
Do we have to use the word 50, though? Can we not just say 50?
We can also say 50.
Okay, good. That's acceptable. 50 is a lot.
Yes,
Yeah.
it is.
That's
It's
really-
almost a year.
It
Yeah,
is
I know.
2 more, and it will be.
Mm-hmm.
That's cuckoo.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it is.
It's
It
fun.
is.
I'm
Oh,
cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs.
Mm-hmm.
So 2011 doesn't really just stand out.
No. That's an excellent way to say it.
It is the most sequelingest year I've ever seen in the top 10 of the box office.
Oh,
in
yeah.
fact, it's 9 movies in the top 10
Let's hear them.
Our sequels?
are sequels.
Holy shit.
Harry Potter and the Deathly Hallows Part 2 was number 1. Transformers Dark of the Moon. Twilight Saga Breaking Dawn Part 1, which is a sequel
Yeah.
still. The Hangover Part 2.
Oh, yeah.
Pirates of the Caribbean on Stranger Tides.
Oh.
Fast 5. Mission Impossible Ghost Protocol, which is great.
Yeah.
Cars 2 and Sherlock Holmes, A Game of Shadows. The only one out of the top 10 still isn't really all that original, and it's Thor.
Oh, yeah.
Wow.
And it was 10th.
Interesting.
Oh, no shit.
Yeah. And then
Wow.
after that, you've got even more, like Rise of the Planet of the Apes, and which is also good. But
Wow.
out of that group, I guess I would want to talk about Mission Impossible Ghost Protocol first off.
Yeah, at first, yeah, for sure.
Because that is sort of a rebirth of the Mission Impossible franchise. Brad Bird taking a hold of it, and I think I was a little skeptical at first because a lot of times when you get a guy like that who's really, I mean, I don't know of really any other examples that I can think of a guy who was in animation as long as he was.
Yeah.
That jumped to live action
Yeah.
like that. I mean, we had who did John Carter?
Oh, it's Andrew Stanton.
It was it Andrew
Oh, yeah.
Stanton?
Yeah.
Yeah. We had that later. I think it was the next year. In fact, John Carter came out. But Brad Bird had been like The Simpsons and Iron Giant. I mean, there's like 2 decades worth
Yeah.
of animation. And then he goes in this, and I was like, okay, well, is it going to be Brad Bird doing Brad Bird things, or is it going to be like Tom Cruise telling Brad Bird what to do? And I think what it came out is Brad Bird really kicked ass on this movie.
He really did. You can see that same Incredibles action magic, especially in that hallway scene with Simon Pegg and the thing that's projecting an image of an empty hall.
Oh,
It
yeah.
has to be really quiet. And that whole scene is hilarious. It's tense. It drives the action. And yeah, I think he flexed his muscles here, and this is before Tomorrowland, and why I had such high hopes for Tomorrowland is because this man really seems to get it. You need fun mixed in with your action.
Yeah, and talk about action, man. I mean, jumping into any live action is difficult from animation, but this is like insane.
It's wall to wall. It keeps going. Like you have that, I mean, after that whole Russia thing, it's the Burj Khalifa, and the Burj Khalifa thing's got all this like spy intrigue type stuff going on 2 levels.
Yep.
And it's got Tom Cruise having to go like on the outside of the building to go up to the security thing. And then, oh no, a fucking sandstorm's coming. Darude in the house. And,
well, and you and I saw this together in IMAX, and there were sections of the film, much like Nolan, that were shot with an IMAX camera, and that Burj Khalifa stuff is a lot of that, especially that over the top of it shot where that helicopter or crane, whatever the fuck, goes over that building, and it really sets the stage for the grandeur of this building and the insanity of Tom Cruise actually going out there to film. Now, he one-ups this later with the airplane hanging off scene in Rogue Nation, but and the I guess a lot of people point to Mission Impossible 3 as sort of the rebirth of the series because it was definitely way better than 2, but this crushes 3 out of the ballpark.
There's a new sort of direction I think these movies are going at this point, though. Like Mission Impossible 3 was more, I don't know, it was more standard. It was better, sure, but it wasn't like, oh, well, there's the beginning of Mission Impossible again.
Yeah, it didn't have that wow set piece that the last 2 have had.
Yeah, so it's, it was better, but it certainly didn't I think it underwhelmed at the box office. Of course, Mission Impossible 3 came out right at the time all the Tom Cruise on Oprah and the Scientology became a really big deal and all that. So that hurt a lot too, but it did. I mean, that movie certainly wasn't going to do it, but this one definitely did. And so much so that they, did Rogue Nation later, but. Well,
this is a series which is weird for me to say this. I hope they never stop making them. Because they're really
it's
good.
The kind of thing that can be reinterpreted. And, I think John Woo, notwithstanding, that has been the core principle of this series. Now it's going to be McQuarrie again for 6, and he did 5, and I think we're in excellent hands there. But if they want to come out with 7, and it's the guy who did the Raid movies, and it's a lot more hand-to-hand stuff, I mean, there's so many different ways this framework of a story can fit different genres and director tastes. So, so far, especially the last 2, 4 and 5 are magnificent.
Another great movie that came out, Rise of the Planet of the Apes, which was another one that sort of... Now... The original Planet of the Apes is okay, and like the sequels are notably horrible. And then, of course, the Tim Burton one was horrible.
Yes.
This comes out, and I was floored by it. Like, how in the world was it this good?
Yeah, and I'm not even really usually very big James Franco fan, which is probably what kept me from seeing it for the longest time until you told me, hey, you need to see this, it's good. What I love about this movie and Dawn, and from the previews, what War looks like it's going to be, is that they have still yet to give into that temptation to go back to the original, right? And the first movie shows you there are astronauts on this mission that have left the planet, and you get casual mentions to them in all these movies, but I think after War, or maybe 2 more after that, they're going to come back, and we're going to get, a version of that story where now it is a Planet of the Apes. But man, James Franco's actually really good in this.
Yeah.
Considering that he's acting opposite either Nothing or Andy Serkis in some kind of mocap suit.
Yep.
And then who's the guy that plays? Oh, it's John Lithgow.
Yeah.
Plays his dad. Fantastic in this role. And they really kind of ground this Apes fantasy story into real world technology and ideas, the way Batman Begins kind of ground Batman, because he's doing Alzheimer's research that's supposed to trigger certain things in the brain that will give his father better functions. And can kind of buy that getting into the apes and making them smarter. It's not goofy. It's not way out there. You know what I mean?
If it was only one gripe, and this is not a big gripe at all, is that the movie has a lot of 12 monkeys to it.
Yeah.
The virus.
No pun intended.
Right. No pun intended. But I remember really feeling that at the end of this when I first watched it. And, you see like the virus spreading and all that, during the credits. I was like, this is kind of like how 12 Monkeys. I mean, even though 12 Monkeys wasn't about the rise of monkeys, it was more about
if you've never seen it, it's not how it ends.
Right. Spoiler alert: monkeys do not take control of the earth.
We need more monkeys.
But that's a small gripe, and it's just a uniformly good movie, and I never would have thought when I saw those trailers. I was like, I remember thinking no. And they had really good marketing campaigns for this too.
Yeah, they did.
YouTube videos. They had the one with the chimpanzee with a gun or something like that, AK-47.
Yeah.
And it was just like it looked like a random viral video, but it was really Fox behind it, doing their marketing for the movie. And it's really just a,
yeah, it's a masterclass in effects too.
One of my favorite movie moments ever is when Caesar first yells no for the first time, because he's clearly been smarter than every other ape. He knows sign language, he can do all this communication with James Franco, but when he speaks for the first time, it gave me fucking chills, man.
Yeah. Well, and how many times now also does Andy Serkis have to be awesome in this before they finally say, you know what? Okay, it's not just the mocap.
It really isn't, because you can see mocap in things like, I don't know, what's the snowy train one with Tom Hanks?
Oh, Polar Express.
That fucking movie. It looks terrible.
Well, in fact,
train movie?
Well,
Snowpiercer.
It was called Snow Train. Unstop a Snow Train.
It goes over 55 miles.
Yeah. The Polar Express. I remember the Polar Express. Zemeckis was like bragging that you didn't even need the actor anymore. You just needed, all you had to do was like, Tom Hanks could go in and do all the characters if he wanted to.
Yep.
And in fact, I think he did like do a couple more.
He does multiple characters. In that movie, yeah.
And so it's like, there was a sort of like whoa, wait a minute here. We're getting into an area where actors themselves are just going to lose all their jobs if this is going to be something that people, and luckily, I guess, Polar Express was creepy to people, but Andy Serkis, in every one of these, King Kong and his Gollum and all this, he's just amazing in it, and I don't know how you could ever like argue that he needs to get a Best Actor nomination or have a special category or something, but he deserves something for that.
He does, and I think eventually he'll get it, even if they have to just create this fictional Lifetime Achievement Award or something. He deserves it. He's acting his ass off in these movies.
Should there be a separate category, do you think?
But then you just don't have enough nominees.
Yeah.
It's kind of like, animated and mingling with the Best Picture and the foreign animated and whatnot. There's just not enough to go around. Really.
There's been a movement for a while for the Academy to recognize stunt work. And for whatever reason, the Academy has always said no to that, even though stunt work is extremely important.
Yeah.
And I don't know why they can't just, they have that special thing for the technical awards and everything. Why can't they just hand out a couple of other special awards and say, you know what? Andy Serkis is awesome at being a slow-mo motion cap guy.
Yeah.
Slow-mo. That's right.
Well, one last thing before we get off this movie, and I do mean get off this movie. When we were in San Francisco a couple years ago, Chris and I drove out to the Muir Woods National Forest where the redwoods are that he supposedly takes Caesar to throughout this movie. It's set in San Francisco. The entrance to the park doesn't look anything like it does in that movie, but holy shit, that's still top 10 experience of my life.
Absolutely.
Seeing those fucking trees that you just can't fathom until you're right beneath them. And that may have... that was right around the time Dawn was about to come out, and I was tweeting out, I need to speak to Caesar, which isn't in the movie. It's in the trailer, but not the movie. But it may have endeared these movies to me just a hair more.
Yeah, that place would be awesome if it wasn't for all the other people.
Yeah, there were a lot of people there. But if you just look up, you can't see them.
Yeah, exactly.
People, man.
That's true.
They're the worst.
That's right. All right. Name some others.
What do you guys think about Moneyball?
Love Moneyball.
Good. I think good things about it. Go ahead, Chris.
Otherwise known as Brad Pitt eating.
Yep, Brad Pitt eating. Yeah, that was an alternative title in Australia. Yeah. No, I've read the book Moneyball, and of course that book was more about the statistics involved. That it was more of a Moneyball's more of a dramatization of this. It's kind of like what they did with. They've done this with a couple of books that don't really have a plot to them. They just make the plot, So. Obviously, Moneyball has a lot of like grossly inaccurate things that didn't happen during that season, like Art Howe, who was played by Philip Seymour Hoffman, again great. None of that happened. None of that Art Howe stuff happened. And then the book also famously sort of glosses over the fact the A's that year had Tim Hudson, Barry Zito, and Mark Mulder.
Yeah.
and so they're getting all these hitters to replace Johnny Damon and Jason Giambi and all that. But they have these pitchers who are holding other teams to hardly any runs. So they gloss over all of that. Okay, so beyond that, this is a great movie, though, and it's a sort of a smart way of looking at the financials of baseball when you don't have enough money to compete with the Yankees and everybody. What are you going to do? You got to find the anomalies in the system that nobody else does. And on this one, it's on base percentage, basically.
Yeah.
So all they're doing is trying to find people who can get on base. And there's a lot of great, Chris Pratt in one of his launch roles in this, playing Scott Hatteberg. And he's outstanding in it.
Oh yeah.
Brad Pitt, of course, is great, and just watching him, and his daughter and everything. The interactions with him and his daughter are great in this. But yeah, the story it plays like any underdog story,
Yeah.
Yeah, it's funny that it's about a mid-season streak. I mean, it's a great streak.
Pretty much that.
But it's still, they lose in the divisional series.
Yeah, still lose in the playoffs, even though they come off with this 21 win.
Yeah.
And that scene is great, too, the 21st game.
Yeah.
Which is really their World Series.
Where he shows up halfway through?
Yeah, he's driving down the road, and his daughter's like, "You're up 11-0," and he's like, "Well, I never go to the game when we're blah blah blah." And then he decides to break his rule and goes back.
And the other team starts scoring.
And they get the lead. And then you have the big Scott Hatteberg moment where he hits the home run and everybody's going crazy and everything. It's a great movie. It's a great movie.
Did Jonah Hill get nominated for his performance?
He did. And yeah, he's excellent in this. He's playing. The name of the guy he's playing is not the same as the guy he's based on. But it's he's like a Harvard egghead type of guy.
Yale egghead.
Yale?
Mm-hmm.
Is it Yale?
Yeah.
It's the same. It's the same Teddy, but he didn't go to either
He's
one.
an Ivy League egghead. But he's never had a job in baseball before. But he could see the sort of the weaknesses in the system and everything. And the best scene in that movie for me is when Billy Bean is finagling those 3 GMs to get the trade for the guy that he wants. And it's a series of it's just him and Jonah Hill in the room and phone calls coming in. And then in between phone calls, him saying, this is what we're going to do, blah, blah, blah. And then the phone rings and he gives some bullshit to this GM and then he gives some more bullshit to that GM. Finally comes circling around to somehow getting the guy he wants. And with that silent arm raise that Brad Pitt does, that scene is so good. Again, don't go in there looking for true fact that was going on. But it's fantastic.
Yeah, I agree. I couldn't say anything any better than you did. I love it. I watch it as often as I can if I see it on. It's good. Mm-hmm. And I think one of the reasons Jonah Hill's so impressive in it is that he's not manic at all.
Mm-hmm.
No. He's so over-caffeinated. His characters are, And then he's just a real dude here. And that scene, especially when Brad Pitt forces him to tell this player he's being cut or traded, whichever it is.
Oh yeah,
it's heartbreaking. Where he's he even tells him what to say. Don't say too much. Don't tell him you feel bad. Just say it's business and get out of there. Anyway, I really like this movie.
When you watch his performance, you almost expect him to do those run-ons and riff at the end, but he stops it.
Yeah,
and that's really atypical, even from the other series stuff he's done of any Jonah Hill performance. It's really good.
Yeah. So yeah, an excellent movie. Talk about the Best Picture race a little bit. This is the worst Best Picture race ever. The Help was decent. I liked The Help. I think in another year, there's no way that gets the Best Picture nomination. This is where that multiple nomination thing, more than 5, really hurt this. Because stuff like War Horse, which nobody liked, got in there. Extremely Loud and Incredibly Close, nobody liked, got in there. The Tree of Life, which is an interesting artistic movie, and if you're a big Malick person or whatever, you can get into, but it ain't Best Picture nominated. It's not really a Best Picture movie. And then there's stuff in there that I can kind of see, like The Descendants was a really good movie, and Hugo, the Martin Scorsese attempt at 3D, which was actually really good.
Yeah.
There's a scene in Hugo where I was like, holy shit, if we could get 3D like this all the time, it would be bonkers. But I mean, really, he does the wise thing and uses it sparingly enough that.
Well, and it's a great movie even without that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Creepy, but childlike magic. And it's Asa Butterfield's first appearance, at least on my radar.
And I don't know if it's Asa or Asa. I've never heard the name pronounced or whatever. My inclination is Asa, but it's either Asa or Asa. Yeah, it's one of his. That's his sort of one of the first times we've seen him. Yeah. Chloe Grace Moretz too is building on what I'm sure is going to be an amazing career.
Yeah.
But also we had Midnight in Paris, which was another sort of Woody Allen comeback, another really fantastic movie, and Owen Wilson.
I know, and he's great in this type of role because he doesn't go full Woody Allen,
right?
He stops it before he goes into all the mannerisms. He's more like Owen Wilson in a Woody Allen comedy, which is great. And Woody thankfully stays out of this. He could have played one of the older artists or something like that. But the cast of characters, including Hemingway and Pablo Picasso, Adrian Brody is Salvador Dali, Gertrude Stein, Kathy Bates, man, it's great. They come alive and they're just having a lot of fun. Corey Stoll as Ernest Hemingway.
Oh, that's the
fantastic.
Best. That's the best. He's like, he's like, let's go get in a fight. The movie is magical because it explores that whole idea of that era was the best era,
right?
And it's funny. Owen Wilson goes into this, falling in love with this woman who likes a different era that she doesn't live in, and he's like, how can you like that era? This is the best era. And it's sort of it's actually a pretty good examination on his part. To sort of go on and look, we can't dwell in the past, and but it's a magical movie. It's it's something Woody Allen had not done in a long time. We haven't seen this since Stardust Memories or something like that.
Oh yeah, this is by far, I think, his best European tryst. I loved Match Point, but I think it captures more of that European style.
Yeah,
and it's great.
Yeah,
it's pretty magical.
And then the one that won Best Picture is The Artist, which when I was hearing about this going through the festival circuit and everything, and it's it's a silent movie, I was like, that sounds like a fucking gimmick.
Yeah.
And it kind of is, but I watched it and I really enjoyed it.
Yeah.
Really enjoyed this.
Absolutely.
It sort of it has a really good throwback to the silent era in this, even though there's a couple of cheating sound moments in there, but they're done with a point, you know?
Yeah.
But I really enjoyed it.
This reminded me, this whole thing with him winning, he won some award, Best Director or Best Actor.
Yeah, he won Best Actor.
Yeah.
Reminded me of the Roberto Benigni year, where everybody just sort of fell in love with this, undiscovered talent from another country that did something unique and charming. I saw it once. I thought it was really charming, but it didn't stick with me very well.
Yeah, it's a movie that every time, I'm going through the Best Picture nominees, I have to skip the year and I'm okay, this one. And then 2011, don't remember. 2012, and you go through all that, and you go, oh, it was The Artist, right? Yeah, The Artist.
Because it kind of came out of nowhere.
Yeah, it did.
But it's Jean Dujardin.
Yeah, Jean Dujardin.
The reason to like this movie is his facial acting.
Yes.
And I mean, he's the perfect type of caricature for those silent movies because he can act anything on his face and it draws you to the screen. I love that final dance number too.
Oh yeah. But yeah, it was very good. It was another one of those movies though. I just sort of got caught up in the momentum of Oscar season and it carried it to its win and everything. And I don't know really out of this group though, which one would beat it, because Midnight in Paris is great, but it's also, I don't know. There's something about it that's not Best Picture-y about it.
I would think that The Descendants would have made a bigger
The Descendants was
because it's got a movie star.
Yeah, and let's talk about The Descendants a little bit. Alexander Payne basically can't do any wrong.
I love this movie so much. One of the things I like most about his films is that they make you feel lots of human things. It's that a lot of films are kind of one or two note in what they're going for, but here there's heartbreak, there's comedy, there's parental discord with the kids, and if you're not familiar, this is not spoiling the movie at all to say that George Clooney's wife is in a coma, and not going to come out of it. And they've decided to pull the plug. He hasn't told his daughters yet. And in the midst of all this, he finds out his wife, who's in a coma, had been cheating on him. And it's all taking place in Hawaii. So they set off for this other island with his kids in tow to try and find the guy that his wife was cheating with. And the rest of it from there, I'll let unfold for itself. But I just feel like this is one of Clooney's best performances ever.
Definitely.
He has to show us so many different things.
And also, this sort of introduced us to Shailene Woodley, who is fantastic in it and did not get nominated.
Yeah.
Another one of those like unnominated, one of those most all-time unnominated performances. Because it felt like a sure thing. And I can't remember all the nominees that year, but like I was like, yeah, you could take out a couple of these.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you know, some of these people don't. Yeah, just put Shailene Woodley in there. It's good. But yeah, love The Descendants
and that boyfriend of hers that comes along on the trip with them.
Oh yeah,
he might as well be Spicoli from Fast Times. Yeah, I love that guy because he gets punched in the face by the grandfather, right? Like the dying mom's dad. Punches him in the face. And he's like, ow! But George Clooney, that scene in the hospital room where he's essentially going off on his, wife who's in a coma. I just love that scene. It's a powerhouse scene. It's
unbelievable. Yeah. Like you are going to be stunned at what he says in that scene. And that's one of the like physically hairs came up on my arms and legs and everything. Seeing the intensity of Clooney in that scene.
And fantastic soundtrack. It's all Hawaiian ukulele based to sort of not only set the feel, but make sure that even though heavy stuff is happening, you realize it's kind of a light movie.
Yeah, but I think it is Alexander Payne's most emotional movie, though.
That's probably right.
Yeah.
Although all of his movies hover between emotional and hilarious.
About Schmidt has some really good, I mean, mostly the emotional stuff happens at the very end of that movie. But yeah, The Descendants, like all the way through, you kind of sort of feel all that going on. The family drama that's going on, basically. Like, cause part of this is, his family owns this, land that's out there.
Yeah. They're the descendants of this big, culture, and he has like hundreds of millions of dollars worth of land.
Yeah. Yeah.
And they're about to maybe sell. The family's getting together to take a big vote. And he has a lot of sway. Anyway, lots of great stuff.
Yeah, outstanding. And I mentioned The Help. What do we think about The Help?
Okay, so my wife adores this movie.
Mm-hmm.
She will put it on. If it's not on, if it's on, she will watch it.
Mm.
And I can't tell you how many times we've had this exact conversation. Or I'll walk in the room and say, is this the shit pie scene? And she'll say, yes. And I'll say, see you later.
Yeah. Exactly.
Because the first time I saw that scene, I really wanted to vomit. They went a little too far with the graphicness there. I'm with you. I think it's a good solid B+. My wife would call it an A+.
If anything, this introduced us to a lot of actors who had been working forever, by the way.
Yeah.
That finally got noticed, like Viola Davis, even though she had been nominated for an Oscar.
Yeah.
Finally sort of threw her more into the limelight, because I don't think very many people saw Doubt. And then Octavia Spencer, who had been a character actress for years, and finally she gets a nomination. She actually wins the Oscar for this. But Emma Stone is almost sort of an afterthought in this movie, because she's the protagonist of this thing, but she's just kind of there to just, drive the story a little bit.
It's a great cast. I mean, Jessica Chastain's in
Jessica
it,
Chastain.
Bryce Dallas Howard, and everybody's really good. It's just, it didn't hit me in the feels the way it did my wife, apparently.
Right. But, anyway, let's go on to the next ones.
Well, we briefly mentioned stunt workers, so we should talk about Drive a little bit.
Oh, yeah.
Ryan Gosling it plays a stunt driver, basically a stunt man in Hollywood, and moonlights as a driver for criminals. This is one of my favorite opening scenes ever.
Mm-hmm.
The heist we start on, the way he turns on the radio and it seems so inconspicuous, and then the way he ends this heist at the stadium, the vibe, the music, that tells us a lot about his character. I love it. The rest of the movie doesn't hold up as well for me.
Mm-hmm.
I don't hate it. but the last third of it just kind of goes off in a completely wonky direction for me. But the cast is really good. Carey Mulligan's in this. She's fantastic. Very little dialogue. It's almost a music video of a movie, isn't it?
Yeah, and Bryan Cranston and Albert Brooks are in this. Yeah. And I mentioned this before. This movie gets super violent.
It does.
It gets like I said, there's a scene in this. It's the elevator scene that I was stunned at how violent that was. One of those movies that famously had one of those like adrenaline pumping trailers. Yeah, and then you go and watch it and you're like, man, this is slow, man.
Yeah.
This takes its time. Not like slow as in, looking at your watch or anything. It's actually very, very interesting. But
it spends as much time on the romance aspect as it does the crime aspect.
Yeah, yeah.
And isn't that Oscar Isaac?
Oscar Isaac.
Yeah, that's what I thought. I rewatched this recently and I remember going, oh, that was Oscar Isaac. I had no idea. I think even Ron Perlman's in this somewhere.
Yeah, Ron Perlman's in it.
Just a great cast. It's a good crime film. It's not 4 thumbs up for me because I only have 2 thumbs.
Right.
So it's a thumb and a knuckle.
But no, it's one of those movies that you definitely need to see. Just know that it's super violent when you go in.
Speaking of super violent, I'll throw out another one. The Raid Redemption.
Oh, yeah. Yes.
Holy balls.
Mm-hmm.
The Raid movies are fantastic. This is the first of the 2, right?
Yeah.
Because the second one is the Barenthal or whatever. The Raid 2.
So it's the Raid 2 Cruise Control.
Yes.
This is the one that
the Raid Redemption is the first one, and the Raid 2 is just the Raid 2.
Okay. I think in Hong Kong or wherever it had a subtitle or whatever. A secondary title. But this is essentially, if you've seen Dredd with Carl Urban, it's a very similar concept. There are a lot of criminals in a really tall building, and it's going to come down to one cop, basically.
Now, Dredd did come out after this.
It did, and I don't think either movie stole from each other.
No, I don't either. I mean, if any movie stole, it would have been Dredd.
Sure.
But it would have been an interesting thing for them to greenlight a whole Judge Dredd movie and say, that movie that we saw? Yeah. Let's make it just like that one.
It's much more likely in my mind there were 2 similar ideas being developed around the same time.
Yeah, but this is, they're completely different countries. I would like to know the story behind that.
Yeah, it could be interesting.
They're so similar and they came out so
and it
close
also
together.
Could be that the Raid Redemption hit, foreign cinema and didn't make any ripples here until a year or 2 later. So maybe an American executive saw that movie and said, well, America's never going to see that movie, so let's do what they're doing with this. But I love Dredd, too. You could pop either one of these movies in right now, and I'd enjoy myself.
Oh, yeah. But yeah, the Raid Redemption was a big surprise. I think I had seen Dredd first. It came out in the US in April of 2012. But I don't remember when Dredd did. I think I definitely saw Dredd first, though, however it happened. And then I saw people were talking about the Raid Redemption, and I saw that, and I was like, damn, this is good. This is really good. And Dredd was just one of those movies like, how am I enjoying this? Why am I enjoying this? But go on, the Raid Redemption.
Oh, I don't need to go on. If you've heard me talk about the Raid and the Raid 2 enough, if you somehow haven't seen them or have only seen one of them, they're both A+ films. Relentless action, visceral action. These movies are for a reason, but I get giddy.
But it's not gross. It's not like Kill Bill Volume 1 violence that's way over the top. It's like, it's visceral, but it's fun to watch.
It is, but it's one of the reasons I think these movies succeed so well is the choreography and the performance of that choreography make it seem like shit hurts.
Oh yeah,
right.
Yeah.
Like it's not like Tom Cruise in a Mission Impossible movie where he's not hurt and can tumble in his car 70 times or what. I mean, this looks like real people getting punched in the face and cut in the arm.
Well, I love that. That's what Jackie Chan used to do too. When he was like in that famous ladder scene, like he would like pinch his fingers and he'd like kind of like shake them off and that kind of thing.
Yeah,
I love that stuff.
Well,
for real.
I mean, this is, we're talking about a different country here. In the U.S., you can't get away with that. You got, if you have Brad Pitt and Tom Cruise and whatever, you got them insured out the ass, but you don't want to put them in danger and have to pay that off if they can't see finish the movie because of it and everything. I think the reason why these are so good is just the way they shoot these things, especially in the Raid Redemption, where you see low angle shots of their feet, their whole bodies, like the entire action is taking place in one frame, and there's no edits going on that screw everything up. You know, in the U.S., they're basically trying to, I think, hide the fact that they're using stunt performers a lot of the times, and they want to make sure that they get the glamour shots going in. So it's like a lot of like cut, and okay, some asses got beat, okay. But in the Raid and the Raid 2, it's like those are the guys.
Yeah,
they're sitting. You can see them, and they're like, and it's all in one shot most of the time. And if it does cut, it's for a reason. So. Anyway, yeah, those are great.
All right, what else? I just did 2 in a row, so it's one of you guys' turn.
What about Marvel's 1-2 punch?
Yeah.
Captain America and Thor.
Yeah.
Skinny Steve Rogers is creepy and will haunt my dreams.
Yeah.
Because they made him sickly.
Yeah.
They made him on the breadline or something.
As I don't know, as good, quote unquote, as those special effects are and everything, there's still something quite unreal about it.
Yeah.
And I can't put my fingers on it. You know, if I had never seen Chris Evans before, maybe that's the sort of the element there that I'm missing. But yeah, when you see him, you're like, good God, man, what is it about this that's just not right? You know, it's not right. Captain America and Thor were both like okay entries into the Marvel universe. And they're just, you know, and they're basically advertisements for the Avengers. And that's my biggest problem with them. And it's hard to get invested in the individual stories when you know that all this is just leading to them being on the same team by the end of it. And while I think Captain America is I think it might be better than Thor.
Oh yeah.
I just like those stories. Who gives a shit about them?
Well, Thor's a silly fucking movie.
Yeah.
I mean,
Kenneth Branagh.
This movie fooled me into thinking it was good the first time I watched it, because I don't know, it certainly wasn't to the level of Iron Man, but there was like enough humor in it, enough great actors to where, like I said, oh, that's kind of interesting. But you watch it again, man, it's bad.
Yeah.
It's not good at all. It's such a way. Natalie Portman is just forced into this stupid. She's not a damsel in distress, but she's just fawning all over. She's a fucking astrophysicist.
Yeah.
And she's reduced to this like, oh, I love Chris Hemsworth. Oh my God.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And oh man, the way it's shot has all of those Dutch angles like all the way through and everything. Asgard looks awesome, but like it's just fucking silly.
Yeah. And especially after you've watched the Avengers and everything, you go back and watch this. It's like, wow, what a like low point to launch this character from. You know, there wasn't, you know, and I don't know, maybe there's a lot of people who really love this Thor.
Yeah, because the actors, I mean, Tom Hiddleston is definitely the best part of it. Chris Hemsworth is great. Idris Elba is great. Anthony Hopkins kind of phones in his performance. But he does have that moment where, like, you know, Chris Hemsworth is like, well, I'm king. And he's like, but you aren't. Not yet.
Yeah, it's funny watching Hopkins and his later performances or whatever, even in Westworld and stuff. It's just, you know, it's kind of like, he's just, I don't know. What is it about him now? But that one's one of those. You're almost laughing at him. And it's almost like they took the performance from, what's that movie that he did? Zemeckis, the animation. Was it Grendel?
Oh,
Beowulf?
Beowulf.
Yeah.
The Beowulf thing. It's basically Beowulf all over again. It's such a silly movie. And Captain America, even though it's a much better movie and everything, it's still like another one of these like long origin stories. And I think Hugo Weaving is really good in it and everything. And the idea of Hydra is terrifying. But yeah, I was another movie I kind of left kind of underwhelmed. I was kind of okay. Well, you know, you're just trying to get these guys in the Avengers and everything. The best Marvel movie that year was X-Men First Class.
Yeah.
Even though it wasn't a part of the cinematic universe. I never thought this would be great.
No.
But it has a lot of people in it I love. Michael Fassbender and James McAvoy and Jennifer Lawrence and all these people are really great in it. And it's just a fun, like, I would never, usually an origin story like this, I'm just going to be like bored or whatever. But they pull this one off really well. Matthew Vaughn.
Yeah, and he captures, I think it's that 60s vibe, right?
Mm-hmm.
When the movie is taking place. And yes, there's a bit of like Cuban Missile Crisis stuff that goes on at one point, but I just mean more of the tone, the vibe, the feel of the 60s, whether it's camera work or the costumers or what have you. It's probably a combination of all of them. But when you told me to watch this along with Rise of the Planet of the Apes, that was the one I was most skeptical about, because I guess we were coming off X-Men Last Stand, and I didn't have any reason to have hope. But it's great, and even all the side characters, the actors whose names I can't remember, all the other mutants that are in and out of the film. But what really makes this film great, I think, is Kevin Bacon.
Yeah,
he's a great villain.
Playing a villain that gets a lot of screen time. There's good motivation there for some of the characters on both sides of that conflict. And I really think that's what sells it in the end.
Yeah, Magneto has a great scene when he goes down to, where is it, Brazil, or where does he go down to? You
Somewhere
remember?
in Central and South America.
Yeah, something like that, where he's hunting down those Nazi guys and like, you know, does all that, like, you know, slinging the metal around basically and everything. I love that. But yeah, just a good movie. And I like I said, I don't think I expected it. That was one of the main reasons why it snuck up on me so well and really good. What do you guys think of Bridesmaids?
I like Bridesmaids a lot.
Okay.
Yeah. There's almost been a backlash in subsequent years because this was so popular.
I was the first to backlash.
Yeah.
I watched it and I was not impressed, and I like a lot of the people that are in this. I love Kristen Wiig. And like and there were some parts in there that people were just dying over that I just didn't think was funny or witty, or when she's calling the flight attendant guy Stove instead of Steve.
Yeah.
That's one of those things that people like just dying over. And I'm like, no, okay, yeah. So and calling him Stove. Okay. This is kind of funny, I guess. There are moments in it. I think John Hamm is actually the funniest part of this movie because I like guys more than girls when it comes to comedy. It's that Ghostbusters thing all over again. The truth comes out. But no, John Hamm is such an asshole in this, you know, that he comes off really funny in it. But I do like, I guess, the Kristen Wiig and Rose Byrne, like sort of their like rivalry that goes on in it and everything. Melissa McCarthy obviously is hilarious in it.
Yeah, we kind of accept her performance into lore now because a lot of her stuff is based upon this type of performance. But, you know, this was really a breath of fresh air, and she was really, really funny in it. You know? It's very over the top. It's very outlandish. But that whole thing when she's on the plane and, you know, exposing the air marshal, who's her husband,
right?
Isn't it?
Real husband.
And she's like, you're holding, right? Yeah. And apparently she based her look off of Guy Fieri.
Oh, really?
With like the sunglasses on the back of her head.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's funny.
But yeah, she got nominated for an Oscar for this too.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, and then there's like there's that scene where they all like have the diarrhea or whatever, and they're trying on wedding dresses and everything. And a lot of critics seem to point to that as like, well, you know, showing the girls can get down and dirty with the guys. It's like, I don't like that when the guys do it either.
No.
So why is it funny now that girls are doing it?
Yeah.
So that was what sort of I ran into with Bridesmaids. I know most of you out there like Bridesmaids. I wasn't one, but you loved it.
Yeah, man. I think it's probably the Wilson Phillips at the end.
Yeah, the Wilson Phillips at the
That's
end.
my jam.
Yeah.
I don't have an opinion.
Well, you got to have an opinion.
I didn't like it very much, but I didn't hate it.
Okay.
Let's just leave it there.
All right. J.J. Abrams came out with Super 8, which is another sort of, I guess this is what he's going to get known for by the time his career's over, is making these retro type of movies or try to get back to the glory days of a certain genre of film. This is trying to be like Spielberg and everything like that. Kind of what Stranger Things
and in many ways succeeds at that.
Yeah. And I enjoyed Super 8. It's just kind of one of these, I don't know, what is it about Super 8 that I'm missing here? I think it's when the alien shows up.
Yeah.
And that's where I start losing it a little bit. And even though the sort of the motivations for the alien being here and everything are actually a pretty good surprise by the end of it. Something about when they throw in this special effect alien into this 1970s world, it started to wear on me a little bit. Overall, though, if you're going to make a retro type of movie, it's perfect. It's perfect.
I think it's solidly entertaining. Child actors are all good, and they have to be for a movie like this to work. But it's not everything it set out to do. But another hallmark of J.J. Abrams is the marketing department on this movie.
Yeah.
Which built all this great buzz. I was covering video for Real SEO at this point, and somebody put in a video game, some major release of a video game, put the train car from Super 8. Super 8 wasn't even out yet. And like you could go in and explore and look around this crashed train car where like an alien makes this noise or what. It was all basically just a teaser in this game for this movie. I think that guy's brilliant. I don't know that all his movies hit it out of the park for me, but there's something about the way that guy's brain works that I think is on an upper echelon there.
I'll tell you what's nice is the score in that movie.
Yeah.
That's Michael Giacchino.
Yeah.
And that score, that last scene is gorgeous. It's one of my favorite ones that he's done. And even though the scene is pure cheese, he's like holding on to the locket and all that stuff.
Yeah,
It's like, in fact, that's what it's called. It's called Letting Go is
of
the
course.
name of the title of the score. But man, it's great. I mean, it's as good. It very much sounds like, which is funny that J.J. Abrams is trying to do as Spielberg. It very much sounds like a John Williams type of score, but with his kind of twist on it, it's really good.
Yeah. And you're talking about child actors. Elle Fanning is another one that we're going to see is going to, I mean, the amount of work that she did all before the age of 18 is unbelievable. And just imagine what she's going to be like when she's in her 20s.
She puts Dakota to shame,
Totally. Because when's the last time we cared about Dakota Fanning? Never.
Them Fanning girls.
Oh, man.
But yeah, but Elle Fanning's probably got like 50, 60 credits already. And she's barely even 18 or 19 now. So yeah, amazing type of work there.
Speaking of famous siblings, Elizabeth Olsen did Marcy, May, Marlene.
Yes.
Nailed it. That is a crazy movie.
Yeah, man, it's a trip.
Yeah. Do you like it?
Yes.
Yeah,
I do.
It's very creepy. I mean, there's a lot of weird things, and she turns in a great performance, but like the whole subtext of, it's not a subtext, it's part of the movie of her being in this awful cult and the things that she has to do and be involved with and everything and then her life after that is just, it's like the dramatic version of the unstoppable Kimmy Schmidt.
yeah, exactly. Yeah,
it's nothing like Bad Santa, by the way.
Right, it's nothing like Bad Santa, but yeah, it kind of shows that even when you are able to escape a cult, you're still sort of in that cult.
Yeah.
Like, and that's what the movie is kind of like, that's where it gets into the weirdness is like she's free, but then there's like scenes where she's not, because she's dreaming it or whatever.
Yeah.
And it's like, it's because of the sort of the mind control that's going on in there. And it's a frightening movie. Anytime you see something with, those type of cults in it where these people are drawn to it for whatever reason, they're drawn to it. And then, it's just a guy who basically wants to get laid by hundreds of women.
Isn't it always?
It always is.
Yeah.
It always is. But there's always some sort of like weird philosophy, doublespeak type of thing going on that sort of attracts these people to think that it's actually a religious experience, and it's mostly like drugs and and stuff like that, and then it's it's like, well, come to the room later. Oh, we will go to the country and we will make love. We are both alive. It's I think this was the movie. I mean, this was Elizabeth Olsen's big breakout role, and I've really liked her since in everything that she's in, really, even though, I mean, I wish she wasn't in this Avengers shit, but almost everything she's been in, she's got a really expressive face. And even the movie, what is that, Silent House, that she came out with?
Oh, yeah.
A lot of people didn't like that, but I thought she was so incredible in it that I really enjoyed that movie.
I just remember being blown away that there was a sister to the Olsen twins that looked very much like them, and I had never heard of her ever.
Right.
That blew my mind.
Silent House, by the way, did come out in 2011.
Oh, really?
Yeah. And we don't need to talk much about it, but it's one of those movies got sort of a mind fuck.
Yeah, it's got a good twist in it.
Yeah, it's got a good twist to it, but it's this woman who is, in this house by herself, and she keeps seeing these like, footsteps and all this other type of stuff, and she's trying to hide from the killers. And yeah, it's got some good whammy stuff to it. Anyway, what else, guys?
Girl with the Dragon Tattoo?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
This is the movie where I realized I may not love all of Fincher's movies, but I will enjoy watching them
Mm-hmm.
because this movie is gorgeous.
Yeah.
Like, despite all the seedy shit that's going on from beginning to end in this movie will make you feel dirty, but it looks amazing.
Yeah.
And this was Rooney Mara's big breakout.
Mm-hmm.
And she's great in this. I've seen both the original Swedish.
Yeah.
Seen the original and this one. This is one of the biggest gut punches I've ever had in a movie at the end when she's been working on this jacket and appears to have made it by hand over many, many weeks. And she goes to deliver it and sees him with his old girlfriend walking down the street. Like, you motherfucker!
Yeah.
You did it with her. She was going to give you a gift, and now you're just back to your old ways. Come on.
Yeah, but she's famously like put standoffish in the entire movie, and even during the sex scene, it's just like, all right, let's do this.
Yeah.
And then like gets off and like walks
But even
away.
though she's standoffish and weird, she still has a heart. She still likes this guy. She made this gesture of making this jacket, and it's all for naught. God, the end of that movie killed me.
Yeah, I think I had watched the entire trilogy before this movie came out, and so it felt hollow to me.
Me too.
When I watched it, and yes, gorgeous is right. It's a beautifully shot. In fact, it's got a great trailer too with
Karen O doing Immigrant Song.
That's right.
Yeah.
And,
Nice, good knowledge out the ass. Right
yeah.
there.
And it's and so when I watched it, I was like, yeah, okay, that was the girl with the dragon tattoo right there. That was exactly that's exactly what I saw the first time.
It really is. I mean, it's not a shot-for-shot remake, and it's got great actors and great performances, great score. I think Trenton Reznor did the score for this. And it's Fincher doing Fincher stuff, but it's totally unnecessary.
Yeah. I'm the same about this. I mean, I guess if I had never seen the other one, I would look at this a different way, but yeah, what a good mystery this is. And the whole trilogy is kind of, got that, it's fun. I love movies that go back to the mystery.
Yeah.
Like there's so few of those like actual detective work type of things going on, and real mysteries anymore. And it's a genre that's just lost favor in Hollywood for some reason, even though it's always fantastic when you can put, if you get a real complex mystery with some nice little details that you didn't notice the first time and all that, I like eat that shit up, man.
Yeah, and this is a slow-burning mystery. I mean, he's got to like pore over photographs in the middle of like the Arctic.
Yeah.
So it's not like, what you would traditionally think of as like a really engaging mystery, but it's awesome.
Yeah.
All right, what else?
Well, can we go back to Fassbender?
Yeah.
Did we ever get away from him?
Well, yeah, because we were talking about X-Men First Class.
Oh, let's go back to Fassbender.
Yeah, what'd you guys think about Shame?
Haven't seen it.
I didn't like this movie.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
It's not an easy movie to love.
No.
Is this the dick movie? Wasn't he in a movie where he has a big dick or something?
Yes, it is, because there's a scene in which Michael Fassbender is walking around in a bathroom, and you can see it from behind.
Nice.
That's how big it is.
I knew we made a joke in a recent Sins video about the movie Shame and his dick somehow.
Yeah, and unless he's like wearing a prosthetic so that it would specifically show up from behind. That is,
So
bravo.
the movie's not about that.
Bravo. No.
Well, the movie's about his dick, but not the way he uses his dick, because he's a sex-obsessed executive or something like that, and it makes, which should be salacious, but it punches you in the face repeatedly about how awful this guy's addiction is to sex.
Yeah.
And I mean, too much so that it essentially ruins his whole life. He's got this weird. Carey Mulligan is in it. He's got this weird relationship
Both
with his sister.
of them have horrible like sexual relationships and addictions and stuff like that. and Fassbender, his character, he's always getting laid, always. But also his work computer has all this porn on it and stuff like that. Like there's a big investigation the company conducts with computers.
Yeah.
And then one guy's like, "Man, we studied your computer, and that was some filthy stuff, man." I'm talking about. And he went through all the different things that are, the dirty porn, and like, but yeah, the more and more you realize, this isn't titillation that we're looking for here. This is more about this guy's psyche, and he is messed up. Of course, they give you an explanation by the end of it why that's going on and everything. But yeah, a really tough movie to get into. I'd say if you want to sort of explore that sexual addiction and you're interested in it and everything, I think it's very well done that way. But man, it's not a movie you want to go
comfortable to watch.
No.
And speaking of Fassbender getting laid, he's also in A Dangerous Method.
Oh yeah.
Did you guys ever see this one?
Yeah, I did.
This is about the relationship between Carl Jung and Sigmund Freud.
Yeah.
And it's fascinating. And they're linked by a patient who in turn becomes an analyst herself.
Yeah.
Keira Knightley's character.
Yeah, Keira Knightley.
And Fassbender, and then Viggo Mortensen plays Freud, and this is David Cronenberg. And it's really good. Don't ask me to substantiate the facts because I don't know really what the relationship was. I think this was based on a nonfiction book that then became a play that then became this.
Yeah.
But it's really good and probably underseen. I didn't see it until a few years later.
Yeah. I think Keira Knightley may have not won, but got nominated for an Oscar.
She should. She's amazing. The way that she portrays this. We were talking about mental health in movies about a month ago or so. She's diagnosed with this hysteria, as many women in those times were, but she's got this crazy method of like sticking out her jaw while she's rocking back and forth and all that stuff. That's very uncomfortable to watch, but it's really good.
She did not get nominated for this. She's only been nominated twice, once for Pride and Prejudice and the other for The Imitation Game.
Oh, okay.
But yeah, I think I remember her getting at least some consideration for it and everything because she's good in it. And, but I don't remember too much about this movie, to be honest. I don't remember whether I liked it or not. I think I was left a little cold by it, but
I mean, I don't know. I liked it a lot. It definitely went kind of by the wayside. You don't see a lot written about it, and I guess it's a well-known story. I didn't know it.
Yeah, I didn't
until I saw it, but. It's kind of interesting to explore the relationship between these huge names in psychology who were kind of linked in between with this case.
Yeah.
That's the last Fassbender getting laid.
Yeah, exactly. Also coming out was Rango. Johnny Depp as a lizard
from the director of the Pirates.
Yeah, Gore Verbinski. I enjoyed this.
Did you?
Yeah. It was all right. What did you think? You don't like it?
I thought it was just kind of silly.
Yeah, it is kind of silly.
It's definitely silly. I mean, he's essentially reprising his
Hunter S. Thompson
look
yeah,
as a lizard.
Yeah.
Yeah, I never saw it.
Yeah.
For all those reasons.
Yeah, and animation was kind of weird this year. You had Cars 2 was the #1 animated movie, and that was terrible.
Yeah,
that was
pretty
just
shitty.
Oh, that was just so bad.
There's something else I just saw on my list.
Rio came out, and then they had like the Smurfs and Hop.
Kung Fu Panda 2.
Oh yeah, Kung Fu Panda 2 was good. But yeah, animation didn't really hit it out of the park this year. Kung Fu Panda 2, $165 million, but I think the first one had made like 200 or something, and it was like everybody loved that first one.
Yeah.
So it was weird that the second one, which only came out a couple years later, didn't follow up. You know. So whatever.
We also had The Adventures of Tintin.
Oh yeah.
The much hyped Spielberg Peter Jackson collaboration that didn't get great reviews, didn't make a ton of money, and by the time I saw it, I was like, I think I like that more than most people did.
I didn't like this. I like there's the one scene where it's all one shot basically that's really cool. But yeah, overall, I don't remember anything about this movie except
that may be
one
why
scene.
it didn't do very well. Maybe it just didn't stick very hard in people's brains.
It's one of the many years that Spielberg came out with 2 movies. It was this and War Horse.
That's rough.
I mean, he basically just went to both extremes there, didn't he?
Yeah, man. War Horse is such a bad movie.
I remember asking, I think it was you, is this movie what I think it is? A horse that is involved in multiple wars.
Yeah.
And you said yes, and I was like, okay, that's all I need to know. I'm never going to watch this fucking movie. I don't care if it's Spielberg.
Have you ever seen The Red Violin?
Yeah, it's okay.
It's the
very
Red
much
Violin
like that.
for
With
horses.
A
Except the Red Violin is a way, way more entertaining
Didn't
movie.
you tell me there's even a scene where opposing soldiers work together to dig the horse out?
Fucking thing. The horse wanders in between their like neutral zone. They got a ceasefire. And the horse gets caught in some like fucking like barbed wire or something like that. So like one of the Americans and like one of the German guys are like waving the white flag, and they both walk to the horse, and they both like sort of like try to communicate to each other. How do we get this fucking horse out of the mud? And that's what they do. That's the thing.
God damn it.
Oh my God.
I will not watch it now.
Yeah.
Ever.
Now, I mean, some of you out there are probably like, I got to see that scene now.
Or, hey, I like more horse.
Yeah, exactly. It got nominated for Best Picture. It must have been okay. Puss in Boots came out. Now, I kind of like Puss in Boots. That was a Shrek spinoff. Antonio Banderas and everything. I kind of like this when I watched it. I don't remember much about it, but I just remember it being pretty funny.
I missed it because I was kind of done with the Shrek stuff at that point, but
yeah, but his character, I don't know, for whatever reason, was always endearing to me. Especially doing the little cat eyes and all that type of stuff. But yeah, and remember that movie being pretty funny. Anyway, animation was kind of also coming out, The Green Lantern came out.
Ooh.
Oh, goodness gracious.
That's all we need to say about that.
Yeah, and this is a bad year.
Can I do one more here? Steven Soderbergh, Gwyneth Paltrow, Matt Damon, Lawrence Fishburne, Jude Law, and a host of other people, an international cast in Contagion.
Yeah.
What'd you guys think of Contagion?
Saw it once, freaked me out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That kind of shit. I'd rather watch Outbreak, where I know I'm watching a cartoon of a movie, than watch something that actually feels possible.
It really does feel possible.
Pandemic scare the shit out of me, so I probably won't ever watch it again.
Yeah. When you have Soderbergh going through this type of territory and everything, it's somewhat elevated to to more than just an Outbreak movie. And this is actually very good, very solid movie.
I loved it. I love this type of stuff, like disease and epidemic stuff. And
I love disease.
I love epidemics. That's so rad.
And I mean, Soderbergh is great. You've seen him with huge casts before, being able to wrangle all these super famous, super talented people and get their best out of them, and it's really good. I mean, Gwyneth Paltrow alone in the first 5 to 10 minutes or so is very riveting, and then she is no more. That's not a spoiler.
Yeah.
There are a handful of other good ones I want to mention on my list.
Okay.
And I don't think any of them need to be talked about at length, but Warrior with Tom Hardy. And
great movie.
Dude whose name I forget. Who was in
he's got one of those
movie.
He's got one of those like Joel Edgerton.
Yeah, Joel Edgerton.
Yeah.
And I think Nick Nolte is playing their dad,
Mm-hmm.
and they're basically long lost brothers. One is a war hero who doesn't want to be, and one is a fighting champ. They basically end up in this tournament and then facing each other in the final match. It's one of those cheesy ass looking movies from the trailer. I watched it one night on Netflix. I was like, that was fucking good.
Yeah.
It was where I first kind of discovered Tom Hardy's got more going on than I thought he did.
Yeah.
This is not just a muscle bound dude with a charming face. Like, he can act.
Yeah.
So I really liked that one. I'm showing that The Gray came out this year.
Okay.
Liam Neeson.
Enjoyed The Gray.
Did it not come out this year?
I think it did.
Oh, the way you said okay kind of was like, I will grant you that, Jeremy.
I have
no idea. Are incorrect.
I have no idea. I think it did, but yeah.
I thought this was really solid adventure. Plane crashes in the tundra, and you try to survive the killer wolf attacks that keep happening.
Well, of course, as soon as I say that, I look up The Gray, and I found out it came out in January of 2012. But that probably means it had a good long life in 2011 and finally came here.
Motherfucker.
By the way, this is as good as any time as any to explain why we didn't get the Hurt Locker in.
Oh, yeah.
Back in the 2008 discussion, Jeremy brings this up, and I'm like, nah, it won Best Picture in 2009, so we'll wait for 2009 to bring that up. And then 2009 comes along and we totally missed it.
Yeah, that's the explanation.
That's right.
We just forgot.
Yeah. I mean, it wasn't going to win that year, but it was an interesting type of movie to talk about because first off, Jeremy Renner's great in it, and it won Catherine Bigelow the Best Director, which was the first time a woman had ever won a Best Director Oscar.
Well, it's a solid film too. I really like it.
Extremely good.
Not the kind that we usually skip or miss.
Yeah. And we would have. I mean, we were about to talk about it, and then that fucker Aaron Dicer shows up for the 2009 discussion.
Throws us all off our game.
He fucks us up, man. He fucks us up. Anyway, well, let's talk about The Great Anyway, because even though it's 2012, it obviously had a life in 2000.
I don't have much more to say than I did. I just think it's solid fun, outdoor thriller.
Yeah.
And Liam Neeson. This is one of the first times outside of the first Taken movie that I bought most of his badassery.
Yeah.
And it really works. And he's got a tragic kind of story layering his character.
He's got a little sadness behind those eyes.
He does. My name's Kunu.
But yeah, this is Joe Carnahan, who had made a movie called Narc that I really enjoyed.
That movie's awesome.
We didn't talk about Narc in its year, but it's really good. But ever since then, Carnahan did stuff like The A-Team, and he did a lot of like really bad movies. Then he kind of gets back with The Gray here. It's just a really thrilling action adventure type movie.
Yeah.
And I wasn't expecting that, even though, Taken and all that had brought Liam Neeson back to the fold and everything. But it's just, I don't know, something, even though it's a wintry movie, there's something cozy and warm about how good it is as far as it's just an old fashioned adventure tale. So what else is on your list?
Oh, I just wanted to mention Hannah.
Oh yeah, I love
we
Hannah.
Get another chance to say
Saoirse
Ronan. She's basically a young trained assassin by her dad. They've been living in the wild basically, and he's taught her to be like him, basically Jason Bourne, and only she's like 11.
Yeah.
And then she ends up on her own, and so it's basically a 12-year-old girl, Jason Bourne, who she meets up with this family that's traveling and goes quite a ways with them and just kind of acting like she's lost her family or whatever. But I really like this movie.
This is one of those movies that I had to like tell people, come on, go see this. This is really good. And a lot of people were just I don't know. They just didn't want to see a little girl kicking ass or something. I don't know what it was, but or it just, didn't have mass appeal. But man, everybody I got to watch this movie said, man, that was really good.
Yeah, it's really good.
Yeah, so excellent.
So yeah, I just wanted to mention that. And that's all the ones on my good list that I can sleep tonight with.
Okay,
with those all being mentioned.
the repopularization of the Muppets.
Yeah.
That came out. Jason Segel, Amy Adams.
And it took them all of a year to undo all that goodwill, but with that terrible sequel.
Right. But and this is so well done because it's got the Flight of Conchords guy doing the music, and the music is great.
The music is as good as any Muppet music has ever been. And I think it's Jason Segel's involvement that really wins this, because he's a great anchor for us, but he clearly fell in love with the Muppets, both as a kid and when he was working with Henson Studios. And he wrote this film. He stars in it. The second one doesn't have any Jason Segel. I'll let you guess why. Maybe it's not terrible, or maybe it's not good. I love everything about this. This really did refresh the Muppets for me, and I have been a Muppets fan my whole life. But I love the '80s robot. I love Chris Cooper and the maniacal laugh.
Yes.
I love
what I love about that maniacal laugh scene. Chris Cooper really gets into it.
Yeah.
Like, he's like, maniacal laugh, maniacal laugh, maniacal laugh, and it's, and perfect, like, not unawareness of, like, he's doing something funny. He's doing something sinister, but it's just the way he does it. The delivery is beautiful in it.
Yeah. Yeah. I love this movie as much as, it's right up in the top 3 or 4 Muppet movies of all time for me. I think it got the magic right.
Yeah, absolutely. Let me go through some of this top 100 here that's just shitty. Bad Teacher, not a good movie. Made $100 million, though.
Oh, Jesus.
Jon Favreau made Cowboys and Aliens, and
that's one of the most should have been betterness movies that ever got made.
Yep.
Yeah, it has a great cast in it.
Great concept.
Yeah,
Aliens attack the Old West,
and it's got Spielberg behind it, and like it just felt like something that this should be something that'll be fun and entertaining. Yeah.
No, it's not very good at all.
Yeah, the Green Hornet we briefly mentioned because of Christoph Waltz. A couple episodes ago, but that movie that's a weird conglomeration of, you got Michel Gondry doing the direction, but you have Seth Rogen and Evan Goldberg writing the script, so it feels like it should be something that's inventive and fun, and
it's all over the place.
Yeah, it's all over the place. Real Steel was a fun movie.
That's solid family, dad son sports drama.
I really like Crazy Stupid Love.
Oh yeah, I did
really enjoy that movie.
Yeah.
I don't like romantic comedies at all, but something about this, with Steve Carell getting divorced, having a breakup with his wife, and like then getting Ryan Gosling to school him on how to pick up chicks, and then finding out that he is dating his daughter, who's Emma Stone.
Mm-hmm.
There's just something about it. It's magical.
Yeah, it is.
Every time when it was first coming on HBO, it was one of those, like my Martian for you.
Yeah.
It was like I would like always pick it up wherever it was going and just sit there and watch it and everything.
It really got the heart of this whole thing, because it's all messy because he's out there. He's trying to keep his connection with his kids and everything. But like he'll break into his yard and like aerate the lawn, when he's kicked out, and like all this sneaky stuff. And Kevin Bacon plays the other guy, right? Yeah. And I think everybody's performance is great. Emma Stone, when she finally gets together with Ryan Gosling, is hilarious. It's hilarious because he takes this Lothario, and then they basically end up like talking and hanging out all night and all that stuff, which is something that happens in real life.
He tries to hit on her several times, and then finally she gets drunk and goes over to his place and is like throwing herself at him, and he won't take the bait.
Yeah.
Which is an interesting sort of take. He's been trying to nail her this whole time. But yeah, it's a real sweet type of movie and everything. And I don't say that about romantic comedies very often.
It's way better than Crazy Beautiful.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is.
I'm sorry. Go on.
We briefly mentioned Battle Los Angeles. That's a terrible movie.
Poop on it.
Immortals, which I believe was yet another 300 clone that came out.
Wasn't that Tarzan Singh?
Oh, Jesus. I think it might be, actually. That's amazing you would know that.
Well, I like Tarzan Singh a lot because he did
The
Cell and he did The Fall. And then he did this Immortals thing, which kind of has that aesthetic, but more like Zack Snyder-y than what really he should be doing, because his visuals are really, really cool, I think. His story, not so much.
Yeah.
But so
every time I see one of these freaking movies now, like the trailer, they always try to capture that weird like look of 300 and the the swords and sandals and the the yellow and all that. Not a good movie. Tower Heist.
I forgot all about this movie.
This is actually a decent movie.
I never saw it.
It's a decent comedy. I mean, it's not great in any stretch.
I mean, it was Eddie Murphy and Brett Ratner, right?
Yeah, Ben Stiller.
Yeah, but I mean, it was Eddie Murphy and Brett Ratner that kept me away from this. I was never going to watch this movie.
Yeah, I mean, Eddie Murphy, this should be like a comeback for him, but it's really not. He's not really given much to do. It's one of those things, like you look at 80s Eddie Murphy, you can tell that he's like just loose and they're letting him do whatever he wants to. And like maybe by this point he just doesn't have that in him anymore. But you have Ben Stiller, Matthew Broderick, Alan Alda, a lot of great things. And it's
Gabrielle Sidibe is in it too.
Yeah. And it's basically, their boss, Alan Alda, is getting investigated by the FBI and everything, and they're defending him. They're like, there's no way that he would be able to do this type of stuff. Of course, they find out midway through he actually did do this thing. So that is where the tower heist comes in. And it's it's a good throwaway movie. We bought a zoo.
Yeah, Cameron Crowe, Matt Damon, Scarlett Johansson. What could go wrong? Everything. This is one of the least charming and romantic movies Cameron Crowe has made. And I love everybody involved. I love the idea. I know it's loosely based on a true story. It falls apart for me.
Got a very Field of Dreams type of structure to it, where somebody decides they're going to do something insane, and somehow people will come by the end of it, and like, of course, like, I don't think there was any like real romance in the real story or
Probably
whatever.
not.
And definitely not a Scarlett Johansson type,
Right.
anyway. But yeah, I kind of wonder what happened to Cameron Crowe, because the guy was as can't miss as it gets.
Yeah.
All the way through, I would say Vanilla Sky. Some people might say Almost Famous is where it ended, but then after that, everything he's come out with.
He had that show 6 months ago, Roadies, that I never got around to watching, that got canceled. But I always seemed right up his alley with the Almost Famous, like a show about roadies on a rock tour but apparently it wasn't watched or wasn't very good.
Yeah. There were two Friends with Benefits movies.
Oh my God, this blows my mind.
No Strings Attached and Friends with Benefits.
Yeah.
And they both have similar actors in them.
Well, and one of them is now married to the other movie's
star.
Right. Because it's Natalie Portman and Ashton Kutcher.
Yeah.
And then it's Justin Timberlake and Mila Kunis.
Right.
And neither movie. I've seen them both, believe it or not.
Yeah, I have too.
Neither one really works.
Yeah.
Yeah. The Adjustment Bureau, another like Matt Damon movie that just didn't.
I like this movie so
no!
much. We got into an email thread at like 11 o'clock one night where I was like, hey, man, this is awesome. The Adjustment Bureau's on. And I was shocked to learn that both of you hate this movie.
Yeah, it's not good.
Man.
I mean, you can like it. I don't like it.
You're allowed to like it.
Maybe it's good. Jeremy didn't like it. It seemed to be trying a little too hard for me.
I thought it was cool. John Slattery and Matt Damon. And who's the girl in that?
It's Blunt.
Yeah, Emily Blunt.
Yeah, I thought it was. I don't know. It worked for me.
Yeah. I really wanted to like it because when the trailers came out, it looked like some very intriguing type of movie. But it just didn't.
Very similar to. I had the same kind of experience you did, but with the movie In Time with Justin Timberlake.
Oh, yeah.
Got bad reviews.
Yeah.
Not a lot of people like it, but I dug it. And I think it was just that concept that dragged me through the entire movie.
Yeah, I actually kind of dug In Time as well.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not a great movie, but it's definitely has, like you said, the concept a lot of times is all like half the battle sometimes.
Yeah, seriously.
And I love that little scene that he has with a guy from Mad Men.
Oh, Vincent Carthage.
Vincent Carthage, where they're just like, they're gambling their life points, basically. And I'm sitting there like, what if he loses all of his life? Does he just die right then and there? Like, oh my God. Source Code came out in 2011. Movie. Yeah. We were shitting on Duncan Jones for his Warcraft movie this year. But he came out with Moon, which was great, and this one, which has got another great concept.
Yeah, good time travel.
Sort of a Groundhog Day type of thing.
Edge of Tomorrow-ish.
Yeah, Jake Gyllenhaal and Michelle Monaghan. Yeah. I really enjoy these type of movies where they're like they keep waking up and everything, but he has to keep on trying to find ways to put a detail in there that But I really enjoyed that. New Year's Eve. I think I brought up Insidious last year, so I guess that was another movie that came out came out the previous year or whatever, and it had it.
Seems like that happens a lot.
Its major release in this year, but we talked enough about that.
You mentioned it briefly, but we didn't really talk about the Deathly Hallows Part 2.
No, we didn't.
Which is obviously the best Deathly Hallows movie.
It's clearly the best Deathly Hallows movie.
Did you guys like it? I thought it was a really good ending.
No, it's great because I mean, it's not part one.
Yeah, exactly.
No, part one did all the setup for it, and part two knocked them down.
Yeah, it's very enjoyable. I was ultimately a little, again, never read the books, but liked all the movies. I was a little disappointed in the whole he's going to win by dying thing.
Yeah.
Because not only has Neo done that, but 12 or 13 other movie characters, and then way back in the day, Jesus.
Yeah.
So it's just not new anymore, right?
Jesus Origins.
Exactly.
I want to see Zack Snyder do. There's some movie on cable right now. I keep passing it, but it's about a 7-year-old Jesus walking around the world and experiencing life, and I'm just like, what is that about?
Yeah.
I'm not tempted enough to stop, but
yeah. I mean, I keep running past a lot of these. Really, nobody asked for them sequels. Spy Kids, All the Time in the World.
Yeah.
Big Mamas, Like Father, Like Son.
Oh my God.
And then a sequel I guess people did ask for, but man, it had been too long. Scream 4 came out in 2011 with a brand new hot cast.
Yep.
And Kevin Williamson back, and Wes Craven's back, and all that.
What could go wrong?
Well, I think what can go wrong is that they shouldn't have ever done the movie. Like they...
It's very succinct.
I think what can go wrong is, I think when a movie is, as clever as Scream comes out, and then you come out with 2 other sequels that have already mined this territory as long as it did and everything, you're trying to recapture something instead of just invent something.
Yeah.
And that's what keeps happening with Scream 4 is that it's the same shit. We're trying to recapture the magic instead of just like, let's make something new out of this. And I'm sure I think I read a whole bunch of stuff about this script being, the first one that Kevin Williamson wrote got changed and then he got kicked off the set and all that. One of those type of stories came out of this because he wrote it one way and then they did another thing.
We should probably mention Tinker Tailor Soldier Spy.
Oh, it's a great movie.
Yeah,
he was nominated.
Gary Oldman's only nomination ever.
That's
criminal.
insane.
Yeah,
criminal
is for this movie, but fantastic movie and another like really satisfying spy movie with the sort of the work in the details and everything, and we've got a great cast in this too. So many people. Tom Hardy's in this.
Oh yeah.
Who else? We got a bunch of people.
It's not an action-y spy movie.
No,
that's why it suffered a bit at the box office.
Yeah.
It's not Night and Day.
No, it's definitely not.
It's not Night and Day. There's Mark Strong, Colin Firth, John Hurt.
Oh yeah.
Benedict Cumberbatch is in it. I know Tom Hardy somewhere in this because he has one like really small. Yeah, Tom Hardy's in this. Yeah, like just it's just one of those. I love this. This is intriguing. J. Edgar, really underwhelming DiCaprio biopic.
Yep.
With Eastwood directing, and he is going for the Oscar unlike he has ever gone for it,
and he doesn't get it,
and it's just it's not good enough. Sorry. Leonardo DiCaprio kneels in judgment before me.
Not good enough.
Yes.
What is your favorite color?
Speaking of bad Zack Snyder movies, Sucker Punch came out in 2011. 50-50. 50-50 is a good movie.
Yeah.
Seth Rogen and Cancer Boy.
And Joseph Gordon-Levitt.
His name's not Cancer Boy. Cancer Boy is actually a character from the Kids in the Hall brain candy movie.
Yeah.
I was born with my organs on the outside of my body.
Young adult, we mentioned that briefly. Jason Reitman, his last like somewhat known movie, and then after that, it's weird. He had started off like amazing, Up in the Air and all that, and then Young Adult, which nobody saw, but Charlize Theron is amazing.
Yes, she is.
She's great in
and Patton Oswalt too.
Yeah,
right?
yeah. But yeah, a really good movie, and I would almost recommend that movie.
Ready to vote?
I'm ready to vote.
This is going to go a few rounds, I think.
By the way, I do want to mention this. I don't think any of us have watched this movie. I do want to bring it up though. The Intouchables came.
I have not seen it.
Yeah.
And I am sorry to say that I have not seen this. I know it's good.
Yeah.
I know it is because it comes up a lot.
And it's in French.
Yeah, and it's in French. And French is usually good.
Yeah, French shit is awesome.
But anyway, bring that up. Anyway, yeah, go ahead.
All right. Today's order is Chris, Barrett, and Jeremy.
Okay. Mission Impossible Ghost Protocol.
All right.
Ooh, nice one.
Not going to be a surprise. I led the sole episode off with that, but such a good movie.
It's fantastic.
It's so good. And Brad Bird, I want to interview that guy someday.
That would be awesome.
Because he's got, I bet that, like, all those years of working The Simpsons and Pixar and everything, I want to know the stories, man.
I bet he's got some good dirt on Conan.
Yeah, I bet he does. But this movie is so just, it is one of the best action movies we've seen in the last 20 years.
Agreed.
Yeah.
And so, like, it's what in this decade I compare almost all action movies to. So
yeah. Jeremy Renner is playing the secondary or tertiary character in an action movie a lot these days.
Yeah.
But he's really good in this. In fact, it almost makes it appear like he was going to take the mantle from Ethan Hunt and like continue his own thing, like Bourne Legacy or something like that.
Well, I think that was the plan once upon a time, but this one hit so hard with audiences that they're like, let's just pay Tom Cruise whatever he wants to.
Yeah.
Well, and he's still doing those stunts, so it's not like he's geriatric or anything like that.
I think he loves doing that.
Yeah. My pick is The Descendants.
Oh, yeah. Great one.
Man, this is... it's strange that this is my favorite movie of the year, but it's only like my third favorite Alexander Payne movie.
Yeah. Well, that's how good he is.
It's amazing.
And it's also how average 2011 is overall.
Yeah, exactly.
It's not... one of the things I struggled with prepping for today was nothing jumped out at me. Nothing jumped out at like, oh, this is a clear... Like last time we had Social Network and Inception that we knew were going to be duking it out. Nothing like that this time. Yeah. But we are only going to go one round because I also picked The Descendants.
Okay.
Oh!
And my second pick would have been Mission Impossible Ghost Protocol.
Yep.
So it's a spiritual alignment there.
Continuing, I think, a losing streak that's going back 10 years now. I don't think I've had any of my movies get
But it's
picked.
only 10 weeks. It's not 10 years.
It's 10 years. It's 10 years.
It's like dog human years.
Right. I can't argue against The Descendants. That's a great movie, and I love Alexander Payne. So I could reasonably tell everybody listening to this to go and watch his entire library.
Yeah.
And really, the worst one was the last one was Nebraska, which is actually still pretty good.
Oh, yeah.
But his whole thing, start with Citizen Ruth, go through Election, go through About Schmidt and all that, and you won't be disappointed with it.
Definitely.
Fantastic.
All right, so today we're going to be talking about basically Christmas.
You're all I need. Santa, tell me.
So this is Christmas.
Yeah.
In the first part of this, we're going to recast a Christmas classic.
Ooh.
Now, in all honesty, I don't think I want to actually have these movies be made per se, because they're already classics.
Yeah.
There's no need to remake them. But if they were to be remade, what would be our sort of fantasy casts for these things? So Jeremy, I'll let you take it away.
I love this shit.
Yeah.
I love fantasy fictional casting. I was reading this off to my wife and she was like, you are so good at that. And I was like, well, it's easy when I can literally pick anyone and I don't have to worry about budgets or schedules. Or a real life casting director's job is a lot harder.
Exactly.
I'm also stocking this thing with A-listers, which is nearly impossible to do.
Well, that's the thing. When it came down to doing mine, I was like sitting there going, I could never afford this fucking
right. Exactly. The cast alone is going to be $300
it's like,
million.
but this is my fantasy cast, so I can do what I want.
So I'm starting with It's a Wonderful Life.
Okay.
Which is a great movie, one that I try to watch annually and really like it.
Mm-hmm.
Jimmy Stewart, probably his most famous performance. And in the Jimmy Stewart role, I'm going with George Clooney.
Yeah, perfect.
Good. Because even though Jimmy Stewart was an amazing actor, what carried him in this movie and many others was his charm. Mm-hmm. He's able to charm his future wife. He's able to charm the bank customers into not pulling all their money out. Mm-hmm. And I think George Clooney is one of the most charming guys we've got working today. You've got to have an equally good charming actress to play the wife.
Mm-hmm.
And so I went with Jennifer Garner.
Oh, nice.
who seems to be doing more Capital One commercials now than like actual acting, which more power to her.
Yeah.
She's got kids, got bills to pay.
Mm-hmm.
But she has shown flashes of being a fantastic actress.
Yeah.
She also can look the girl next door hot or librarian frumpy, depending on how you do her hair and dress her up.
Well, and she would be perfect. I mean, especially after Juno, and considering sort of like, I guess, what we know of her personal life.
Yeah.
She seemed like to be a perfect person to be the mom of like 6 kids.
Yeah,
or whatever.
no, I agree. I agree completely.
Mm-hmm.
For Clarence the Angel, I'm so proud of this, but it's Albert Brooks.
Yes,
Oh.
that's so beautiful.
I think he would kill that role, and
Yeah.
I toyed for a second with putting Albert Brooks in the role of Mr. Potter, the villain of the film,
Mhm.
but he's better in this role.
He's
because
perfect. He'd be a perfect Clarence.
We're going to put Bill Murray in Mr. Potter's role.
Oh,
And we're going to ask him not to be funny at all.
wow.
And we're going to ask him to basically be evil old Mr. Potter.
And then you have a Bill Murray, George Clooney sort of reunion there from Fantastic Mr. Fox.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I hadn't thought about
And
that.
from Monuments Men, too.
Yeah.
And I have a few others, but those are the main characters that you want to hear about, and I don't need to recast all the speaking lines in the film. I think I did put his little brother would be played by Casey Affleck.
Yeah,
Oh, nice.
Who's
Nice.
a war hero in the movie. George is the one that stays home and runs the family business.
Mhm.
Anyway, on to one of you chaps with your Christmas recastings.
Nice. All right. So I'm not recreating a classic in the sense of the most recent version is a classic, and it's The Grinch. I think this could obviously be done much better than the Ron Howard, Jim Carrey collaboration.
Mm-hmm.
And so I was thinking putting it more in a realistic setting and have it directed by David Fincher and have Daniel Day-Lewis play the Grinch.
Holy shit.
Whoa.
But the issue is he's not a Grinch. He's like this slightly disfigured man that lives like on the outskirts of town and everything.
He's like the penguin.
Pretty much, yeah. I mean, he's an outsider. He's an outsider, and he's just kind of like on the fringes of society, and he grows to hate this town because of their cheer. It's this nice little traditional village and everything. And, it becomes like this whole antagonistic thing. I don't even know if we're going to throw in the dog in this, but he's going to be there. I'm going to have Elle Fanning as the hipster Cindy Lou Who.
Yes.
Yeah.
Is she emo?
Oh, yeah, totally.
Emo hipster?
Oh, yeah, of course,
All right,
man. So she's going to be there. Alec Baldwin is going to provide the narration.
Nice.
Nice.
That's a good pick.
And Trent Reznor's going to do the soundtrack. And Aaron Sorkin's going to write the script.
Oh, wow.
My goodness.
So we're going to keep it sounds serious, but we're going to keep some comedic elements to it.
Yeah.
But it's going to be grounded in reality. And I think it would be fun.
It's
That would
basically-
be.
I mean, this is half the team from the girl with the dragon tattoo you just brought back here. Or at least 2 of them. I guess Sorkin didn't write that one.
Well, and yeah, I mean, I guess the social network. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm.
But I was going to try and take the snow from Girl with the Dragon Tattoo and make a joke about Barrett's idea. I couldn't get there.
That would be very, very interesting. What I like about your idea is that it's not necessarily a straight up remake, like a almost shot for shot type of thing. You're talking about a reimagining.
Yeah,
here.
yeah.
And that's why I also liked, you had the other one. I don't know how far we're going to go. Are we going to?
We could probably just go one round for this.
Yeah, you had the other one with the Richard Linklater rotoscope.
Yeah.
For Christmas Carol.
I even have a better idea about that because we could have Richard Linklater do A Christmas Carol, who we've seen do touching stuff with the Beyond movies and Boyhood and all that stuff. And I'll just throw that out real quick. With Ethan Hawke as Bob Cratchit, Gary Oldman as Scrooge, and then the Ghost of Christmas, present, future, and past be Will Ferrell, John C. Reilly. And I think I put Sean Connery in there for whatever reason. But here's the thing, is that only the scenes where he goes in the alternate universe, those would be rotoscoped.
Oh, okay.
And the rest of the movie would be normally shot.
Oh, that's pretty
Okay.
cool.
I think that'd be interesting.
I like that idea.
Yeah. I think Linklater would be up for the task, too.
Totally, man.
All right. So since I consider Die Hard a Christmas movie, I'm going
Yep.
to recast Die Hard.
Excellent.
I'm going to make Tom Hardy John McClane.
Oh, that's a good pick.
Mm-hmm.
That's
a
really
good
the
pick.
only person that could play alternative John McClane.
Now, John McClane is obviously a New York cop, so we're going to have Hardy actually be New York in this and not like, his foppish British self here. No.
Oh, he can do accents.
Oh
though,
yeah,
obviously.
he can. Yeah. But I feel like out of all the people that could really get the physicality of John McClane, it would be Hardy.
That's a very, very good pick.
It's interesting looking back at Die Hard. This is what makes you feel old. Bruce Willis was 32 when he did Die Hard.
Wow.
And you look at a lot of these actors, they were like, 30s and like, barely 40 maybe or whatever. And then I was like looking for like similar age actors for a lot of things, but I was finding older people constantly. Yeah. And like Tom Hardy's 39. So wow. He's older than Bruce Willis was, but Christoph Waltz as Hans Gruber.
Oh yeah, well you say that go it's wrong. Obvious,
it's perfect.
But, that's perfect.
And look, I love Alan Rickman. Obviously, he's not German.
No, he's not.
Even though he's great in it, but we get somebody who's really German in this for once. You get Christoph Waltz doing basically what he does. And then I did go like some actors that you probably may have never heard of before in some of these roles, because you can't have like I actually struggled with that. Like, do I just put like everybody who's famous in this, like whatever? But Stana Katic, I think is how her name is pronounced. Stana Katic. She was on Castle. That was her thing.
Oh, she was the female lead?
She was the lead in Castle. She would play Holly Gennaro.
Okay, I like that.
Nice.
Yeah. I think like, if you're sort of casting a pretty older woman or whatever, and Bonnie Bedelia, I think, was like 40 when she did that role. Stana Katic, I think is her name, is now in her late 30s, so it would be perfect. Chiwetel Ejiofor as Al Powell.
Oh, nice. That's a good one. That'll be a break for him, too, to be more of a comic side character.
Yeah.
That's great.
I have, and there's another obvious one, I guess. J.K. Simmons as Deputy Police Chief Dwayne T.
He'd be great. He'd be great.
I mean, it's perfect. So now we're getting into some minor character, like they're not minor characters, but they're not the above the line characters. But you're going to put some pretty heavy hitting actors in here. Michael Fassbender as Carl.
Nice.
Who says like one line the whole movie.
Now, a lot of these I would probably like ramp up their characters somewhat now that you have, better actors or whatever in them. And Alexander Radonov did a really good job. I'm not saying he's bad. But now you got Michael Fassbender in there. And the reason why I wanted to cast him, and first I thought maybe Hans Gruber for this role, Michael Fassbender. Mm-hmm. But I really want to see Michael Fassbender and Tom Hardy fight.
Oh my God.
I thought you were going to say, I really want to see Michael Fassbender in a long blonde wig.
Yes, that too.
Just picturing that right
now. That would be an awesome fight to see.
Yeah.
But and then I have Daniel Bruhl as Eddie, the guy who's at the front entrance or whatever. One of the few Americans that are actually running there, but this would be a German guy. Mm-hmm. So Daniel Bruhl would be that guy. Michael Stuhlbarg as Richard Thornburg, the reporter.
Yeah.
Oh,
nice.
yeah.
Then I have Donald Glover as Theo.
Nice.
And we would ramp that character up too.
Is Theo the one that the limo driver? Or
no,
is he
that's Argyle.
Argyle's limo.
Okay, yeah.
And I've got Lakeith Stanfield as Argyle. Lakeith Stanfield played Snoop in Straight Outta Compton.
Oh,
and he's also in Atlanta, and he's great in Atlanta. So you would have sort of a reunion of Atlanta actors in that.
Nice.
In that. And then I have, and this is a really big guy for a small role, Bradley Cooper as Ellis.
He could kill that
He
role.
would kill it, though.
Hans or Bobby. He would kill it.
So that's your fantasy Die Hard, for me, if they were to remake it. I think that would be awesome. And you'd have to change some things, I think, if you had all these people in it. Because, look, a lot of these movies, they don't have famous actors playing these roles, but they're memorable.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
And really honestly, you would probably try to find whoever's like good but not well known in a lot of these things.
Sure.
But if you're just fantasy casting it, yeah, that's what I would go.
You're looking for the next Reginald Vell Johnson.
Yeah, no. That's what I was sitting there like contemplating. I was like, who's Reginald Vell Johnson these days? Who's that guy? I can't put. I was like, I either thought Tyler Perry or somebody like that, and I was like, no, can't put Tyler Perry in a Die Hard movie. I like Tyler Perry, but I'm not going to put him in a Die Hard movie. All right,
you can put him in a Star Trek movie.
You can put him in a Star Trek.
Do you have another one? You said that you could do this all day.
No, I only prepped one.
Oh, okay.
I could do this all day in the sense that next week, if you wanted to do a section on fantasy casting, I would do it because I fucking love that shit. It's like the Kevin Bacon game to me. I just love it.
Nice.
So the next thing that we're going to talk about, who are the best Santas and Scrooges in these Christmas movies that have come out? I'm straight up admit, guys, I usually don't like Christmas movies at all. They're usually just there's something about the season that I don't like anyway, and it's not because I don't have holiday spirit or anything like that. I enjoy giving presents. I enjoy seeing the looks on people's faces when they see it, when all that other type of stuff. But I do not get it when I go to a grocery store and I'm hearing nothing but Christmas carols. I'm like, yep, that's the same old shit that I heard last year. Great, but when these holiday movies come out, it's like, I mean, I don't remember most of them that I ever watched. I've seen a lot of them, but so I'll go ahead and get my humbug shit out of the way, and you guys can be more excited about this.
All right.
So for Scrooge, George C. Scott is always who I think of when I think of Scrooge. It was a 1984 TV movie that he was in, but anytime Scrooge comes up, I think George C. Scott. But the very first Christmas Carol I ever watched was Mickey's Christmas Carol.
Yeah.
Oh.
And I was shocked to find out, I saw this in the theaters, Mickey's Christmas Carol. It was a short before The Rescuers.
Oh.
And I had no idea.
Wow.
When I was looking this up, I was like, oh, but I don't remember The Rescuers. I remember Mickey's Christmas Carol. I'm wondering, like, if my mom pulled me out of the movie after we watched Mickey's
The Rescuers gets pretty raunchy early.
Does it?
No.
You see a shot from behind, and you can actually see it dangling?
Yeah, totally. It's so crazy. Like, well, yeah, Scrooge McDuck, man, was hung. He was hung.
And addicted to sex.
Yeah, and addicted to sex. But Scrooge McDuck is who I think of a lot of times in the Scrooge adaptations.
I love that.
And Alan Young was the voice of Scrooge McDuck. He died earlier this year. Of course, everybody died earlier this year. But Scrooge McDuck is, I remember that portrayal probably more than any Christmas Carol that I've seen.
Oh, yeah.
And I've seen several after that. I saw the Jim Carrey one and all that. But those are my Scrooges to me. And then the Santa, man, there's nobody I can think of in that. That's how bad I am about these. The first Santa Claus movie I saw was called Santa Claus the Movie.
Oh, my wife loves that movie.
1985.
Terrible.
Yeah,
Wasn't that rated PG or PG-13?
Yeah,
or something
it was,
like
I think. And it was because Dudley Moore was in it.
Yeah.
Yeah, and like the Santa Claus in that movie is David Huddleston, who also died this year, and he's the Big Lebowski in the Big Lebowski.
Oh yeah.
Oh wow.
But he played a Santa Claus in that, and that's really the only Santa Claus. Like every other Santa Claus that I remember is not playing Santa; they're playing a mall Santa. So it's like Christmas Stories,
Home Alone.
Yeah, Home Alone, Bad Santa.
Yeah.
So
Kramer.
all those. Yeah, Kramer. so who? I mean, and then Tim Allen in the Santa Claus. I mean, who has really distinguished themselves as an amazing Santa? They're never really like the main character. A lot of times they're just like whatever. So there's my humbug shit for everybody.
That was good humbug shit.
I'm not on top of this question.
That's all right because I think Barrett and I are.
Yes.
You want to take it?
Yeah, so I don't know how many people have seen this. I watched it recently, The Arthur Christmas.
Okay.
It's an animated movie that came out, I think, actually in 2011.
Yeah, it did.
And the whole premise of this is that this character, Arthur, is like the youngest child in this lineage of Santas. And it's really kind of charming. Like, he has to, of course, save the day after the other previous
Santas. Is this
Santas
the same Arthur as the rodent with the glasses?
No,
children's book Arthur?
It's another Arthur.
Okay.
It's not the Dudley Moore
I'm going to
either.
stop wrinkling my face now because for a second there I was really confused.
Yeah, James McAvoy was the voice of Arthur.
James McAvoy, so he becomes kind of like the stand-in Santa. But the old Santa is, like his grandfather is Jim Broadbent. Then the current Santa, who's about to retire, is Bill Nighy.
Oh, wow.
And then the guy who's about to take over for him is Hugh Laurie.
Yeah.
And then you've got James McAvoy in the Arthur role. And it was really cool. It was cool to see all the Santas come together. Spoiler, they all come together at the end. And it was an interesting story. It was a fun animated movie. And, tickled the Christmas things for me.
Mm-hmm.
You have Christmas things?
Sure.
Can I tickle them?
My Christmas extremities.
It tickled my Christmas things.
But it was a cool play on like Santa and how the lineage gets passed down and all that stuff. And that'd be my first pick. What's your pick? For
My
Santa
pick is old school, and it's Edmund Gwynn from the original Miracle on 34th Street.
Ooh,
which is another movie I've never seen that.
Oh, so good! Don't watch the colorized bullshit.
Mm-hmm.
The Richard Attenborough.
No, that was the remake. That was a remake. You can buy original black and white or colorized.
You mean the colorized version of the original?
That's correct.
Okay. Yeah.
Everybody's great in this movie in their roles, but he's playing a fill-in Santa at the last minute because the Macy's Parade Santa got drunk. That gets him a gig at Macy's being the mall Santa, but he believes he's Santa. And slowly over the course of this movie, all the rest of the characters, and even you, will also believe he's Santa because he's just got so much charm and magic. I'm specifically going to point to the scene where he teaches the little girl. He borrows some bubble gum, and she teaches him how to blow bubbles, and he teaches her how to make animal sounds so that she can play with the other kids at school. Teaches her how to act like a monkey. There's just a warmth about this character, and then, of course, the point being that at the end, he realized he really is Santa Claus and has all this magic. So that was the first place my brain went when I saw this question.
Yeah. We just briefly mentioned Tim Allen in the Santa Claus, but I liked that movie. I mean, it came out when I was a kid. But I really dug that one. Of course, they made like a couple more sequels after that.
Yeah.
Oh, it's one of my wife's favorites, so I see it every year, and I think it's got plenty of charm. The reason the sequels don't work is that what makes the first one work is a regular guy in the Santa role.
Yeah.
And once he gets acclimated and starts acting more like Santa, it's not funny anymore. But yeah, that always makes me laugh whenever he comes out of that first chimney and his son's like, well, what did it feel like? And he's like, it felt like America's Most Wanted.
I remember enjoying the Santa Claus. I thought Tim Allen was really good in it. And for whatever reason, it was funny for me when he starts swelling up during that business meeting or whatever, and they're like, "What happened?" He's like, "Bee sting." It's just something about that is always funny. I remember also working at movie theater when that came out, and man, it was packed every show.
Well, that was the height of Tim Allen's popularity for television. Mm-hmm. Who's your Scrooge?
Bill Murray.
Oh, from Scrooge?
Yeah, man. What a cool reimagining of that story. Mm-hmm. It is way loud, man. I watched this again the other day, and it's Richard fucking Donner, of course. Yeah. And it is very shouty, and it's very loud, and it's way more ostentatious than you would think a regular Scrooge movie.
Now that you brought this up about Richard Donner, I really do wonder if there's been an instruction from either him or producers that work with him. We got to make this really loud. Like they're like Kevin Spacey in Swimming with Sharks. It's like I can't hear the explosions. I need them loud. I need them. I need my balls exploding or whatever the fuck he says. But yeah, man, it's like I'm beginning to wonder if that's an actual thing now. Anyway.
Every little scene, even the one at the end with Bobcat Goldthwait showing up, just randomly firing a shotgun at him, is very loud. But it's so manic and it's so 80s and it's so fun. It's crazy that he's a lovable character as terrible as he is in this movie.
Yeah.
So that's my favorite one. I think.
He's a great big piece of shit in that movie.
He is.
Until the end. But of course, that's the point of Scrooge, right? Mm-hmm. So when I was little, the Scrooge my mom showed me first, and then every year, was the one played by Albert Finney in the 1970s musical version called Scrooge. My brother and I will still sing these songs when we get together around Christmas. It's a long movie, and at the end, he literally goes to hell. And when I was 7, that was some serious shit for me. But one of the reasons I'm picking Albert Finney is there's a madness to his performance as he struggles to comprehend what's going on, and then eventually face his own demons and his own evilness. he starts to lose it a couple of times, whereas Scrooge is usually more played as cranky, heart of gold.
Yep.
Like this guy has dynamics as he goes through watching these old stories and all those memories that are great at first and then bittersweet. And anyway, I try to watch this once every year, and if only for the song Father Christmas, which is an awesome song. Father Christmas, Father Christmas. He's the meanest man in the whole wide world, you can hear. That's the song that British children on the street sing about Scrooge. They call him Father Christmas mockingly.
Oh, I got you.
Anyway, that's my pick.
Michael Caine in the Muppets Christmas Carol is my runner-up.
I thought you were going to go that, so that's why I didn't say him, but he's fantastic.
Oh, he's great. I mean, it's Michael Caine at his Michael Caine-iest, maybe.
Yeah.
Being able to play a grumpy old bastard. That may have been my first introduction. I watched Mickey's Christmas Carol many times. As a matter of fact, I always had this strange pairing because the McRib, follow me on this, the McRib would come out around Christmas time.
Yep.
And I would always sit there at the TV, eat my McRib, and watch Mickey's Christmas Carol. Okay, there you go.
McRib is back right now, by the way, as we head into Christmas season.
On the way home tonight.
There you go. I think Barrett's evening is planned.
That's right. All right, so are we now doing questions?
Let's do it, baby.
Question. I got something to say. I want the truth.
I am listening.
The first one is almost exclusively for you guys. It comes to us from the Reddit question thread. Actually, this one came in from SoundCloud. Now that cinemas are almost entirely using digital projectors, what is the role of the projectionist? Does the job even still exist? And how do cinemas get digital films now? Do they come on hard drives? Are they downloaded from the studio server? Do cinemas get to keep the movies afterwards? I think this is an interesting question that a lot of people have.
It's going to be all Chris, because I quit the theater when they were still using film. And it was a couple years after that they started the transition. So I can't speak to it, but I know he knows all about it.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so yes, they come in on hard drives and these little things called Pelican cases or whatever. And these hard drives you can hook up to a RAID system, basically, where you there's like 8 slots that you can put these hard drives into, and you go to your main computer and you start downloading them to your big RAID system, basically. So you have a master library of all these movies that are playing. And from that computer, you can send them to any projector that you want to. So when we first got them at Hollywood, it was you had to load it directly onto the projector. We didn't have that RAID system. So because they have to go through a whole bunch of encryptions and keys and all this other type of stuff. So you would hook them directly up to the projector and download it. And of course, each one of these projectors has their own size limitations and everything. You can't just have every single movie ever made on them or whatever. So yeah, you would download it to this master hard drive basically. And then what you would do is you would go in, you would have the list of trailers that need to go on the movie and everything. That's the, it used to be 5, now it's 8 or 9. And they tell you exactly what version of the trailer that you need to put on there, because now trailers are very much geared towards the audience that they are showing them to. So they're approved for this feature a lot of times. And you basically have to build a playlist. You just go through there and you're and your trailers are downloaded the same way. You get a drive that's got just nothing but trailers on it. And you download all those things.
It has multiple trailers on the same drive?
Yeah, it's about, 100 or so. And usually they're all the same, but they keep coming out with new versions of trailers all the time. Sometimes you look at it and it's Harry Potter and the Order of the Phoenix, number 5 trailer.
Or Suicide Squad, number 18.
Suicide Squad. The whole hard drive is Suicide Squad. But you go in there and you create a trailer list and you put it in this thing and you make sure that they give you a time code to program into this playlist so the lights go up and down and all this other type of stuff, which had led to some interesting things in the early, I don't know if this still happens to some theaters, but I remember The Odd Life of Timothy Green. They gave us this
deep cut.
Yes, extremely deep cut.
Oh, that's Jennifer
Garner.
Yeah.
And they gave us the time code for the credits for the lights to come up, but it was wrong. The lights came up like 10 minutes before the movie was over.
Oh, wow.
And we didn't know about it until like 2 days later or something. Finally, somebody came out and complained about it. Or that's the way it is with theaters. Like, you seem to get a whole bunch of complaints where it doesn't matter a lot of times. Like, you know, I'm not hearing the surround sound, which is bullshit most of the time. But then, like, you know, for lights coming up during the middle of the movie, didn't hear about it until Saturday. And so I had to like figure that out, whatever. Anyway, so you put your cues on there for the lights go up. And then, yeah, you put your feature and all that other stuff. So normally you want to try to get your biggest movie on as many projectors as possible, just in case you need to interlock now, which you can't. It's not the same thing. Now you just run a projector that you want. You can interlock whatever projectors you want now at this point. So you want to make sure you have all your biggest movies on those and whatever. But yeah, there's not much of a role of the projectionist anymore.
Has the number of staff needed for it gone down?
Yeah, I mean, everything starts automatically. That's why you don't see very many late starts nowadays, because what they do with the time, like at our theater, we had a scheduling thing that tied into that computer. And what you would do is you just drag the playlist into this little cloud on the schedule or whatever. And it would download all the trailers and the movie and everything. So like on a Wednesday night, I would just like crank, 20 of those puppies overnight, and it would take forever, but you're not sitting there watching it. So it was, so there's not much, everything's automated. It starts when the time is supposed to start. You don't go and press start anymore. If there's a problem with the movie, then hopefully somebody knows what they're doing. But I'm going to guess that amount of people has fallen down pretty hard.
Yeah.
And I don't think theater chains really care that much. I mean, if they lose a show here and there, it's way, way less than what they used to lose with the 35 millimeter prints and everything like that. Because 35 millimeter became bad. It became, 16-year-olds were threading up projectors and stuff. So, I don't know if I answered everything there.
No. The only thing is, do you send the hard drives back?
Yeah, you send them back. You don't keep them. There's keys on each one of these. They last a certain length of time.
They explode.
They explode, yes. But they get it, and it's so ridiculous how they do it too. You have to have a special encryption for every single projector. Now they send these automatically. It's not like a big deal or anything, but this became a huge clusterfuck in 2012 when Hollywood became completely digital, and they decided to do it the week of Harry Potter and the Deathly Hallows Part 2.
Oh.
Where was it? No, wait a minute. Was that 2012?
I
guess it was 2011 then.
Yeah.
2011, when they did that, they decided to replace all the 35 millimeters with digital during that week. Your biggest movie coming out. And of course there's going to be problems. And a lot of the keys that we were getting, they didn't know the projector to, like the whoever makes these keys, it's basically just like, okay, we know your projectors 1, 4, and 10 are digital, so here's keys for that. But they didn't know about 2, 3, 5, all these other ones. So you didn't get keys for those. So a lot of times you had to call this company and say, yeah, we've got this projector now that's digital and we need the key for that and everything. Oh, okay. We'll just update the system. God, it took forever during that week. And it was that was the most painful. That will be a movie theater story, by the way. Because I'm going to have like 2 theater stories out of that week that became digital and everything. But no, you even if you were to keep them, you wouldn't be able to play them because they have a range that goes to a certain amount of time. And once that Thursday midnight or whatever it goes out, you can't play it anymore anyway. So you can keep it on the hard drive if you want to, but you're not going to be able to play it.
Interesting.
All right.
So
cool. Dropping some knowledge.
Yeah, man.
Sweet. All right. Our next question. If you got to pick your family from movie characters, who would they be?
Oh.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I like my family, so I don't exactly want to replace them. And since I'm talking, I'll just go first. I picked Jennifer Aniston's character from Iron Giant to be my mom.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, good.
I
Great
think
mom.
She's a good mom. She's doing a good job taking care of this kid. And it's Jennifer Aniston, it's good genes. So I'm going to be a hot. And then the dad, I picked Stanley Tucci and Easy A.
Yeah, great one.
My sister would be Tina Fey from This Is Where I Leave You.
Oh,
I don't have a sister, but if I did, I would want our relationship to be like Jason Bateman's and hers in that movie.
Yeah.
And then my brother is Tommy from Tommy Boy.
Oh.
Because he'd always be fun, and I'd always look good in comparison. Because he's a fuck up.
That's a good family.
There you go. It's going to be an interesting Thanksgiving dinner with that family around.
Okay, so I'm going to go with, for my dad, J.K. Simmons and I Love You, Man.
Oh, nice.
He's just funny. In
Yeah,
that.
yeah.
And he accepts everybody.
Yeah.
So I'm down with having that guy as a dad. He's hilarious. Charlene Woodard, who played Elijah's mom in Unbreakable.
Oh, good call.
Oh, yeah.
Perfect mom. I think the scene that captures her the best is putting the comics out on the bench and making Elijah go out to get them, and basically teaching her son self-worth and everything. I think that's amazing.
They say this one has a surprise ending.
Yeah. I have, as a brother, I have Nicolas Cage's goofy twin in Adaptation.
Nice.
He's going to be more successful than you
That's
as a
right.
screenwriter.
That'll be fine. I'll ride his coattails. That's fine. And also Carrie Coon in Gone Girl, who played Ben Affleck's sister.
Oh man.
Yeah,
she's great.
Perfect.
Yeah, she's his back.
She's the bartender,
Can you
right?
imagine? Yeah, she's the bartender. And can you imagine having that family? Holy shit. That would be the best.
Yeah, no,
The
those are good
absolute
picks.
best. And I love my family too, but I would trade them in a heartbeat.
I think we all love our families, but we can all agree that they could, be
They could
replaced.
use improvement.
They could easily be replaced. So it's interesting you mentioned J.K. Simmons and I Love You, Man, because I was going to pick him for his character in Juno.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, nice.
He's basically, it's almost the same, really.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I mean, he's great. But I ended up going with George Siegel from The Cable Guy.
Yeah.
As my movie, because it always kills me every time where he visits Steven in jail and he's like, "What's wrong with you? Are you taking the pot?"
Taking the pot.
And he seems like, you can sit down and play porno password with him and stuff like that. So he seems like a fun guy. My mom would be Helen Parr, Elastigirl from The Incredibles.
Nice.
Yeah.
You can't get more loyal than that.
Yeah.
And speaking of loyal, my brother would be Elwood Blues.
Yeah.
Because that man is loyal. Like, he'll pick you up at jail. Like, he'll take you on this cross-country trip. He knows how to get out of tight spots.
Mm-hmm.
He's funny. He's a great musician. Can pick up some chicks, He's a good brother to have around.
That's a good call.
My sister would be Laura Linney from Love Actually.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, haven't seen it.
She is like the most compassionate woman. Her brother has mental illness and he breaks down occasionally and has to call him, and she's available at a moment's notice. So much so she cuts off a tryst of a guy that she's wanted forever. Just because he calls in the middle of it and says I gotta go.
Wow.
So she's a great sister, and I got a Boffo family.
You do.
Yeah.
Your family is the textbook definition of Boffo.
Yeah.
I believe.
Okay.
I believe. You got another one? Let's do another one.
Let's do it. Which movie doctor would you want as your doctor, and which one wouldn't you want? Or we can just do the first one. And I'll take this one because I've got a story about it. I actually met the real Patch Adams.
Oh,
Ooh.
yeah. You told me this story.
He came over and did a grand rounds at Vanderbilt, where I was working at the time, and came in full clown suit with half of his hair dyed blue and the other half dyed pink. I worked at a commune, didn't ever fill out any insurance forms, never asked somebody to pay for his care, and was just the most engaging person, one of the most engaging people I've ever met. Terrific doctor from all stories about him, and would definitely make you laugh and hopefully, heal you up too.
And the movie was bullshit, right?
No, the movie, okay, so his take on the movie was I'm glad the story is out there. There was a lot of creative liberties done with it. I don't think he signed off with final approval of it, but it approximates his life in that period, but it's not, real accurate.
That is very interesting that you have met John Nash and Patch Adams.
Yeah, exactly.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
I wonder who else we're going to find out you've met as we move into the future.
In the future. Yeah.
In the year 2000.
Who's your movie doctor?
I went with Will Smith from Concussion, partly because I just saw it recently and it was fresh in my mind, and partly because he so steadfastly just wants what's right. Like for his patients and for the science and for his work, it's never once about ego with that guy.
Yeah.
And that's who I think you want in a life or death situation, is somebody who really just wants to do the best job they can with the best knowledge and facts and science and not let ego get in the way. So that was my pick.
Good one.
I was going to say, if I'm cheating, it's going to be Dr. House.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Because you're going to want to have somebody who thinks about the problem in a unique
And
way.
belittles his underlings in
That's
the process.
correct. and you know what? I like a doctor who stays at an arm's length and is an asshole to me and everything. Just figure out what's wrong with me.
Yeah.
I'm fine. I'm probably not the best patient for Dr. House because I would be willing to go indulge in his bullshit as much as possible.
Treat the problem, and then we'll get a diagnosis.
That's right. If I'm not cheating, I'm going to go with James McAvoy in The Last King of Scotland.
Nice.
Because I feel like doctors who go to like remote lands and do their job and it's not about money and everything probably are the best doctors.
You just made me wish I'd picked Doc Graham from Field of Dreams.
Oh, yeah.
Archibald Moonlight
yeah.
Graham.
Yeah.
Oh, perfect opportunity missed. Your pick is better than mine.
Well, that's what the point of this is to try to best each other. But there's something very admirable about doctors who decide I'm not going, and very unselfish, about it. So yeah, I'm going to go that way.
Good call.
What is the best coming of age film?
Oh, Stand By Me.
Stand By Me.
I actually wrote in my responses, it's Stand By Me or this other one, ? Because I couldn't think of any others that would contend.
Ooh, interesting.
Stand By Me is excellent. I don't have anything better than that. I picked 2 Linklater movies here. Boyhood is great, and Dazed and Confused.
Yeah, nice.
Those are both good.
Boyhood, I think, I love Stand By Me, but Boyhood has to be considered as the greatest coming-of-age story of all time because of the reality of it, because of how engaged they are, man.
Yeah. I don't know if I stole yours there, but
No.
but I think Boyhood has sort of gotten some backlash over the past couple of years because I think some people are expecting, world-changing movie when they watch it now as opposed to when it was coming out, back then or whatever. But Boyhood is excellent.
I think it rises above the gimmick, but I didn't find it like the best thing I've ever seen.
Well, yeah.
I didn't love it.
But
I thought it was more than just the gimmick of
definitely.
shooting it for sure.
Yeah. My pick would be actually Superbad.
Yeah.
And the reason being is that the relationship that these guys have between Jonah Hill and Michael Cera changes totally from one end to the other and then back to the other end by the end of the movie because, they're just buds, the high school guys that a lot is unsaid and everything. And then they have this almost romantic tryst at the end where they're, laying in the bed. Like, I just wanted to go up and shout on the rooftops that I love you. Like, why can't we do that?
Mm-hmm.
And then by the end of it, when they're going their separate ways, they're like, well, I will see you later on.
Yeah.
I guess I will phone you.
You have my information.
You have my information. So that's a good one. And it all takes place, within one day, basically.
Yeah, that's a good pick.
I love it. All right. Well, that will be the end of this podcast. Keep going to SoundCloud.
Yeah, we annihilated our record for comments on SoundCloud last week. It would be episode 48. So yeah, keep them coming, man. I love that stuff.
We continually get these great stories and emails that come in, and obviously we read one last time, and we can't read them all, obviously, but man, there are some really touching stories out there. And if you are finding some solace, humor, whatever, some sort of balm to your
Who told you to put the balm on? I didn't tell you to put. Do you even know what a balm does?
We will be your balm.
That's right. To your day, then we will accept that. We enjoy that a lot. But anyway, that will be it for this episode. It's Chris Atkinson, Jeremy Scott, and Barrett Scherer. We'll see you next time.
Thanks for listening. Comment on our episodes on our SoundCloud page. Check us out on YouTube, Twitter, Facebook, and Reddit. And be sure to visit Cinemasins.com.
Have some fucking cheer, people.
Yeah. For once.
For once, you asshole.
We're giving you some cheer here, you assholes.
Take it. Eat it. You like it. That's good cheer.
That is good cheer.
Whoa, that's good squishy.
Was Aaron at the Critics' Choice Awards?
Yeah.
That's crazy. Did you see him?
No, I didn't see him on the broadcast, but he tweeted out a photo of his seat. It looked like he was, he
was on Tom Hanks's lap.
Well, it looked like there were maybe 6 or 7 rows of famous people tables in front of him, but it didn't look like a bad seat at all. And he was tweeting all night about people he was talking to in between commercial breaks, like Andrew Stanton and Ryan Reynolds.
Oh, really?
Yeah, he's not shy about it at all.
That's funny.
And if anybody could probably pull that off and be cool to a celebrity, it's probably that guy. So, yeah, he said he hugged Andrew Stanton.
Oh, that's awesome.
That's really cool.
And yet, still, the 2 most famous people he talked to in the last 2 weeks are you guys.
No, Ryan Reynolds is definitely more famous.
No way, man.
No way.
I think we're good to go.
Good to go?
Okay to go.
Okay to go.
Okay to go.
To go.
Well, I hear it. She said she's okay to go.
And I don't know if we're going to keep that.
It was like Les Grossman in Tropic Thunder a little bit.
It was very much
Big
like
swinging dick.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Was this in L.A.?
This is definitely not going in.
There's no way we're keeping this.
No way this is staying in.
Fucking white people.
Yeah, exactly.
You heard that new Sia song, The Greatest? We were about to do the music video sends on it. It's got a Kendrick Lamar verse on it.
Oh,
and,
yeah?
And it's really good. And I was thinking, like, Kendrick Lamar, like, guests on really good stuff. Like, you've got to really have, like, a good track to get a Kendrick Lamar on there.
Mm-hmm.
And then the very next song was him guesting on a Maroon 5 song. I was like, fuck you, Kendrick.
Come on, Kendrick.